I'm prompted to do this video because, as always, I keep seeing comments of people telling me all the different ways that they lost +1. So why would you come across a page that can give you answers to help you win when you're and not ask for help, or not say let's say you come across this page and you don't want to do a paid consultation. Why wouldn't you at least try in the comments to say, how did you win your contempt, James? Or what do you think about this? And maybe I'll give you a little tidbit of information. These shadows are annoying the crap out of me. I'm going to move to a different spot. I mean, why would you come by a spot that has answers, or go, if you got a disease and you sit down with a doctor who's a specialist with your disease and has performed surgeries or help people reverse your disease? Why? Sorry about that. This thing is so sensitive. Why would you come across a page that has answers and say, oh, here's how I lost, and here's another way I lost, and I lost this way, and I'm just astonished at how I lost, and I just keep losing? Why would you do that? And you guys should know by now, the reason why I ask stuff like this, and it sounds like I'm chewing people out or whatever, but I was where you are now, and when I came across anybody who had a smidgen of information, I was trying to get an appointment with them, way to talk to them, or ask questions. You're not thirsting for answers. You're thirsting for whine, cry, piss, and moan. Somebody hug me and spoon with me right now. We could dry hump, and we can vent over this. We could have a venting-gasm together. That's what the Father's Rights Movement pages are for. Whine, cry, piss, moan. Whine, cry, piss, moan. And if you guys don't like me not liking that, I've been watching that go on for 25 years while I'm helping guys win who actually care, who actually have some balls to do something different than what they did before, or what their lawyers try to do. Or some guys actually get a hold of me at the beginning of their case and they're getting ready to rock and roll. And as soon as the mother tries to do something or blindside them or get on the fence, they know the divorce is coming or whatever, they're prepping. As soon as I saw the red flags in my case, I was seeing my daughter and suddenly I wasn't. I went looking for answers. I didn't wait till I got served with the restraining order. I didn't wait until I went to court and then got blindsided like, well, I better get some help now. I had a sense of urgency to figure out everything that I needed to know. Just like I keep giving you guys analogies, like if you have a kid with a rare disease, even though you're not a doctor, you will go looking at second opinions if you're not satisfied with the doctor says, well, it's a hopeless case, your kid's going to die in a couple of years. While you're alive, you would have a sense of urgency to search high and low for answers to help find a cure, or hope somebody's working on a cure. And I know somebody who, his daughter died of a rare brain cancer, and he was trying everything that he could, and he talked to every charlatan, he talked to every legitimate doctor, he got her all the treatment he could. And then when he was done, he used his position that he has to help create a whole foundation for that specific type of cancer. Now, I personally think there's a lot, that particular type of cancer may be different, but they've spent trillions and trillions of dollars on cancer, and it's a big business, and they found a cure, all those businesses go away. So I think there's a scam in them not wanting us to have an answer. And there are a bunch of answers out there. Dr. Sebi went to trial, was put on trial, after he claimed he can, reverse cancer. And they tried to sue him for being a fraud and medical malpractice and practicing medicine without a license. And he won the lawsuit because he had all these testimonies of people, and they're showing the medical records of their cancer getting reversed because they fasted and used these herbs and all this other natural remedy stuff and let your body eat up the cancer cells that it already does all the time anyway. Anyway, so here's a page you come across with a cure for your dilemma, and you just tell me all the wrong ways that you fought in court. The most recent example, I just saw a guy, he's like, I went to court, I have a video call saying, why aren't you doing contempt? This guy said, I tried contempt and I went to court and she didn't show up. And then the judge pushed it down the road. Then I went to emergency courtroom and tried to change custody. I'm so astonished. Everything that he just described was the wrong way to do stuff. There's a right way to do those things, and there's a better chance of getting something fair. Now, you can still get railroaded and screwed, but why would you come on and say, I'm just learning this, I just know a little bit about this, and I got creamed? Wow, James, you won your contempt? Maybe I should ask you a few questions. How did you do that? Did you have a situation like me? Or what do you think about my situation? Or maybe if you actually give a flying freaking shit about your kids, you would actually set up a consult and learn from somebody who won. If I'm a high school basketball, if I'm like, here's an actual situation. When I was in middle school, I decided, you know what, I want to be really good at basketball. So I'm going to start practicing in my spare time and going out and shooting a few hours a day and doing dribbling drills and stuff like that. I didn't want it bad enough where I stuck with it every day. Sometimes I'd be out at the elementary school nearby my home, cold, rainy, whatever, and I'd be out there for 5, 6, 7 hours if I got on a roll. And then I wouldn't go out there for a couple days, but I didn't do the consistent thing I need to do. But if there was a camp that I knew of where I could go to and talk to a pro who was average and got better in high school, and because I just wanted to be good enough to play college. I went to an NAIA school, Seattle U. It's now a Division I. I played there a year, kind of lost my passion for it. And then I transferred. Plus, it was an expensive school, and they didn't have scholarships there. They gave you a little extra financial aid. But anyway, I didn't really have any help. Like, I read some books, and I saw stories of guys like Lenny Wilkins, the former coach of the Sonics, Hall of Fame GM, Hall of Fame NBA coach. He sucked and got cut from teams, and he wrote a book about these dribbling drills he did. So I started doing that. So my point is, if you want something, you'll look for answers. Like, I didn't go and read Lenny Wilkins' story. There's a guy named Rolando Blackman who played for the Dallas Mavericks. I read Larry Bird's story growing up, and he talked about what he would talk about what he would do daily to a point. So I started doing some of that stuff that I read about. And I didn't write them and say, gosh, you guys, you know what? I'm not as good as I want to be, and I don't think I can make it in college basketball, or I could get a scholarship or an offer, or I'm not good enough, I suck. Why the hell would they want to entertain what I'm talking about? Why would you approach a winner and say, this is how I lost, hear my losing story, this is how I lost? Why the hell do you think I just want to read loser stories on here? What is your point? What are you doing, actually? What is your point of telling your loser story? You're crying out for help deep down because you want somebody to say, it's okay, this magic formula will make it go away. That doesn't exist. You have to learn how to fight the right way and go to war and talk to people who've actually won. I've actually talked, throughout my court case, I talked to Dads Against Discrimination, Bob Carls, went to a meeting. That was the first thing I did. After I rejected Goldberg and Jones law firm and this other United Fathers something that was in Seattle that's totally defunct, like all other fathers' rights groups, because they're a bunch of pussies or they got burnt out after doing it several years. Talked to Goldberg and Jones. Called a few different other attorneys, want $5,000, $10,000 up front. I live paycheck to paycheck. I couldn't do that. But I was searching and searching and searching. Then I found somebody. Then after Bob Carls, there's another guy I know in the Tacoma area, Tacoma, Washington. It's the second biggest city in Washington State, for those of you who don't know. It's nearby, just like it's nearby Seattle, kind of like Oakland is near San Francisco or Fort Lauderdale is near Miami. They're about 20 miles apart. So there's a guy in Tacoma. He's been through multiple appeals and helps people. He doesn't advertise. He lays low, and he's like Yoda. He's out in the forest somewhere, and you got to know him or find him or whatever. I did free consults with attorneys that offered free consults, and I was thirsting and yearning and had an urgent desire to figure out what the hell was going on. Then, about 2 years, I did my custody battle alone. I did my child support modification alone. The mother tried to do a contempt and restraining order against me. During my custody, my child support modification, I defended that alone. And then the mother objected to me moving 30 miles from Seattle to Tacoma area while she lived in LA, which made it totally insane and frivolous. We were in court for 1.5 years. I was scared about going to trial, so I hired an attorney. He sucked, fired him, found another attorney who was aggressive and let me pay him, give him $500 for a retainer because he looked at my notebook full of everything and read through it. He's like, dude, you're on your shit. Just let me be your mouthpiece and you can write everything up. So I did everything. He was just my mouthpiece. But I remembered stuff that I had forgotten, and I learned stuff as I watched the mother's attorney, and I accumulated this knowledge. That attorney was totally unnecessary. I learned the hard way that I didn't need one. So, somebody said hi and chill. No, I'm not going to chill. We're talking about kids getting trafficked in family court and broken families and dads not having the balls to fight for their kids. You chill. So I thought I set this on with just subscribers. Maybe these people would subscribe just to talk shit. Let's see here. Anyway, so if you're coming on this page, now, if you actually shouldn't believe, here's your starting point with it: a lawyer, a father's rights advocate, father's rights movement groups, a Judge Anthony, family court corner, all this other stuff. If you're going to talk to somebody and ask for help or information, and if you shouldn't believe anything anybody says, especially in family court. Especially in family court, because first of all, lawyers lie for a living. The whole family court industry is based on fake, phony, lying, and all that stuff. And you should make everybody back up anything they say in life. So that being said, under this YouTube video and all my other YouTube videos, there's a link to my flow page, which has all my links in one spot. You can see my winning court orders. You'll see my custody order, my signature on one side, the mother's signature through her attorney. She wasn't appearing because she was already in California, I think, or something, by the time I got custody and the case was being resolved. Then the mother's signature, her attorney's signature with 17 years experience. He has his bar number there. You can go look at his bar profile and see that he started 17 years before that. That was 2001. So he started about 85 or 84. And a guardian ad litem had 10 years experience. I defeated and destroyed all those subhuman garbage POSs. So you can see my winning orders. You can see my first win on contempt. You can see a transcript from a hearing where a family law commissioner praised me. That's when I had that attorney. He said, the father's attorney was briefed the court really thoroughly and well, and I appreciate his briefing. And the attorney said, that's actually James's work, Your Honor. He goes, oh, well, maybe law school should be his next step. So I show you this stuff, evidence, like I know what I'm talking about. You shouldn't believe what I'm saying just because I say it. Now, some people, they hear what I say and they believe it because it resonates with them. They know I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking real stuff, unlike that fake family court corner biznatch who charges $250 an hour, and she had to spend $100,000 over 10 years to get what she wanted at her family court case. I don't even know what she got. It just says that in her testimonial. And she doesn't offer any free stuff as far as I know. She just has these little quotes where she sits there quietly and looks all unattractive and then points up to a quote above her head and plays some music. She has a fancy looking website. I'll give her that. And then, of course, Judge Anthony is out there with his with his flat rim or brim baseball caps off to the side a little bit, trying to be down in his late 50s or however old he is. He gets a testimonial and he gets up and does a little dance and acts like he's down. Charging $750 an hour. I charge 1/10 of that. And the number of testimonials he posts, that's how often I get testimonials. And he has like 1 million followers over all his platforms. And because he says, this is what's crazy, because he says, I used to be a judge, everybody's like, oh, I trust you. You were part of the corrupt system. That's like saying, you used to be in the mafia? Oh, I need to know how to do a startup business. Can you help me? I totally trust you because you did business in the mafia. Judge Anthony said I had it wrong. those of you guys who've seen me talk about it before, I thought he had 15 and 5 years. He said I was a family law attorney for 20 years and 5 years a judge. And then in other videos, see, when you put pieces together of different people and you add it up, then you can tell who's really real or not. And if they don't show you proof, if your attorney says, I can get you 50-50, and they don't tell you how many times they help get somebody 50-50, you shouldn't believe what they say just because they say it. That's why I show you some of my winning order. I won in the Court of Appeals twice against the mother's second attorney. Her first attorney had 17 years experience. Her second attorney had 37 years experience when he came on board. And then he worked for her for 13 years and dragged me in and out of court off and on for a bunch of bull crap. And then her next attorney, she had another attorney that fought me when I was trying to get college child support, because we have college child support and the mother was making 90 grand a year. You know, she's making almost twice as much as me. And so I was dragged in and out of court. I got 1,100 documents in my file. The average hotly contested divorce or ugly family court case has like 250 to 300 by the time they go to trial the first time around. I got 1,100 documents in my case. It actually could have been more, but there's a couple of appeals I didn't bother with because my daughter was a teenager. It was almost over. And the only victory I would have gotten out of that is just being able to say na, 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 na to them. And, you know, I'm going to flex on a corrupt judge and a sexually deviant, pervert, racist attorney. So you shouldn't believe these people or me or anything I ever say just because I say it. That's why I tell people, hey, don't believe what I say, do your research, or demand somebody explain stuff to you. If somebody says, oh, you can't do that, why? Where do you get that from? A lot of you guys have attorneys who say, well, you can't attack the mom, you can't go for 50-50 right now, you have to trust the process. Why can't I go for 50-50 right now? I read the law. The law says that the court is supposed to consider which parent performed parenting duties and all this other stuff. I did just as much as the mom. Why can't I do 50-50? Oh, that's just not the way we do things around here. These stupid ass mother effing attorneys do stuff not because of what the law says, not because of what the Constitution says, not because of society's norms where we're all crying out, fathers need to be in the kids' lives. Where are you, fathers? They do it. They do stuff the way that they've always done it because they walked in there, because even the attorneys are a bunch of peer pressure, sheep, biatches. Just like all you guys that walk in there and say, oh, Your Honor, I'm a good dad and please help me and please be my savior and rescue me from the mother, you know, taking the kid from me. Please, I beg of you. Or you walk in there, the mother's trying to get a restraining order against you. I just want to work stuff out with her and be civil and just talk about the kids. And, you know, I'm just trying to co-parent with her and her and her and me and her and me and her. And you sound like a psycho stalker because you have no self-awareness. And you don't have common sense. God gave a monkey that you're walking into enemy territory and they don't know you. And because you didn't sit down and think about what you're saying, didn't do any research, you just listen to what everybody told you to do, and you follow what everybody says instead of doing your own due diligence, then that's why you get screwed. You know, the guy who made the comment that kind of provoked me, because I got comment after comment, so that was kind of a recent one where he did a bunch of stuff and he told me in detail, like I said, he said, I went to court, I did contempt, the mother was a no-show, the judge kicked it down the road, I haven't seen my kids, and you know, first of all, you're not telling me enough to give you a consultation if you wanted a free consultation in the comments. Second of all, why aren't you looking for answers? How come you don't have a sense of urgency to try something else? Because most men are biatch quitters. They come to court, they lose a hearing, and they're devastated, and they quit. I was devastated when I went to court for a restraining order, and the mother did not get a permanent restraining order, and the judge pushed it down the road. I'm like, oh my God. Now I got to, so here's what happened to me. Mother serves me with an anti-harassment order because we were arguing over the phone. And I said, if you don't let me see my kid, this is going to get ugly. And she was like, what, is that a threat? I said, threat? What are you talking about? I'm just saying this is going to get ugly, like this conflict and stuff. And I was really already talking to Dads Against Discrimination and planning on how to fight for custody or 50-50 and get ready for my custody case. So right now it's just a restraining order attempt. She's withholding the child from me. well, you burned the bridges with my sisters. You know, fat, ugly, goatee sporting chicks who can't get a man. One of them actually used to be a leader among the women in our church and preach all this love of God stuff, and which doesn't affect my perception of God. It affects, affects my perception of people. And next thing you know, she's leading the agenda and the war against me to destroy my daughter's relationship with her father. So, and they were 3 strong, independent women who didn't have their dads around because their mom was a butch callous man hater. And guess what? They're all hanging out still now. None of them have a man. My baby's mom, turned 57 this year. So she's like 33 when she had her kid. The other one's a couple years younger than her. The younger sisters control her. And their mother, who's now elderly, they're all just hanging out, dying old maids together. What a life. So, anyway, I digress. Mother's trying to get a restraining order against me. I go to court, and the judge is like, obviously, you guys got animosity toward each other. I could feel it. But he just wants to see his kid. Is there any way he can see his kid? And she's like, he can't come over to my house. He burned the bridges. And is there anybody who can exchange the kids? It's not you. Well, he could talk to my coworker and then arrange it. And but his friend, his roommate, I lived in a split level home. I lived in the bottom half. A buddy of mine who had a wife and 2 kids, he was up top. He let me sub rent the bottom half. And so my baby's mom was like, well, he can't come over and get the kid. He's biased to his side. Like, if I come and sit, like, which eventually happened, my mom would drive 30 miles from my old hometown, come to Seattle, go to the baby's mom's house, and then drive 3 blocks and bring her granddaughter, my daughter, and then drive 3 blocks back and then drive home. And it would exhaust my mom. But my roommate can't pick the child up and get the kid from her roommate handing the kid off or something. Anyway, so my first hearing, the judge is trying to accommodate me because he saw through the bull crap. And he said, I'll grant this restraining order for 2 more weeks. You guys go get a parenting plan in family court. I don't understand family court, and come back to my court. So some of you guys ask my story a lot. I probably should do a separate video on my story, but here's a little bit of it. So then we come back 2 weeks later. I went to the courthouse, asked the clerk, what do I do? Where do I go? I was totally lost. And she said, oh, you need to go to the prosecutor's office. So I went to the prosecutor's office, and all they did was start up a paternity case to get on me. So the clerk gave me bad legal advice. A couple years later, the King County Courthouse, where Seattle is, in Seattle, they had to fire all the clerks because the news did an investigation on them giving legal advice to everybody, and bad legal advice. So that's a crime. So I go back to court, and I realize what they're doing is wrong. So I started my own case. So I'm running around in total chaos, totally lost. But guess what? My life with my kid was at stake. A lot of you guys would have given up right there. I've seen, a third of the guys, they go through one hearing, they don't get what they want, and they turn into diva little Mitches, and they quit on their kids. Now, then I go back for the second hearing, and I come in there with a witness, my buddy who lives upstairs. And I used to babysit his daughters when him and his wife would go somewhere. I brought his daughters to like soccer practice or whatever when he was busy or late. We did all kinds of stuff for each other. And so he's like, I trust James with my daughters. I'm not here to bash the mother. I'm just here to talk about what a good dad he is and stuff like that. Because my daughter came over to our house with the baby's mom for a couple of weeks, and then she started this conflict. And so my buddy saw her come over, talk to her, saw my daughter, saw us get along and be civil at first. And he knew her whole family, all the 3 wicked witches of Eastwick that were trying to keep me from my daughter. And we were all friends for like 10 years. Went to the same church, we're in the same social circle, go to Mariner baseball games as group, barbecues, hang out, movies, Red Robin, all that stuff. Not every single one of us, but just all these different cliques and stuff. And then so we're in court fighting and arguing, and the judge and this is when I realized one of the number one things dads need to do in restraining order hearings is distance yourself from the mother. Because I didn't realize it till the first hearing. We talked for about 40 minutes, I think. Each of us talked like 20 minutes. The second hearing was like an hour long. The mother talked. She brought up 2 or 3 witnesses. And he asked one of her roommates, well, James, you're saying James would call the house all the time. How often would he call? And she's like, I don't know. Like, she just came in there just to be a puppy lapdog, following their orders over there, their little clique. I'd never done anything wrong to this girl that was talking. And then she just like, James calls the house. I was like, Your Honor, I just realized it looks like they're trying to paint this picture of perception that I'm calling the house to talk to the mother, that I want to be with her, I want her. I'm only calling there because my daughter is there. And I have my mind made up. I could care less if I lose every friend, family, acquaintance, baby's mom, her extended family, people who used to be my friends in my social circle or the church that we went to, which was a cool setup for a decade right out of college as a college-based church. And so they were friends in college, they were friends at my church, and all this. And half these people just believe the other side of the story, and they've forgotten all the stuff that I did with them and for them for 10 years. But my life with my kid is on the line. I had to make up my mind that nobody in the world matters. If somebody wants to come on board and help, I had people write declarations and statements, and I didn't expect them to, and they did. I reached out to this woman. There was a lady that was in my church that was friends with the mom and friends with me. She had a son who will never meet his dad because she slept with a married man. And she did it to get pregnant on purpose, to keep up with the Joneses, to be cool. This is what modern women do. She had a kid because her friend had a kid, and she wanted to be like her, and that kid turned out to be a soft little sissy and stuff. But so I felt bad for him, and I took him places and let him hang out with me. I brought him to work one time. When it was like, bring a kid or something to work, I brought him with me to work. And then I went to her to ask if she'd write a declaration about how I looked out for her son and stuff. And her mom answered the door, and her mom didn't know me. But I was asking, I was like, is Liz here? Why is that? I was wondering if she'd write a statement. Who are you, James? James Christensen? Oh, she's not here. Slams the door on me. So all of a sudden I'm a monster, and I'm the only one that's, in our little social circle, I'm the only one that's hanging out with her kid. And the other guys are making fun of me because this chick is extremely hideously ugly. And they would say, oh, you're hanging out with your son today? Like it was a joke because like you made a kid with that hideously ugly witch. Which I thought was cruel because it wasn't that boy's fault that he didn't have a dad and that his mom was raising him soft. That being said, so I've been where you guys have been. I have all these people betraying me. I have people I thought I was cool with, turning around and betraying me. And I had to make up my mind. It was me all by myself against the world if it had to be. So anyway, that was my mentality. So when I'm back to the restraining order hearing, and I realize, I'm like, wait a minute. They're trying to paint a picture that I'm pursuing the mother. I just want to know how my daughter's doing. Everything that child has at that home, the changing station, the mother's recliner, the clothes, the crib. I bought all that stuff for the sake of my daughter. So I'm calling to see if she's okay. That's it. I could care. And then I said this. Now, I would rather be civil with the mom and work stuff out, but I wasn't in love with her. We weren't really together when we messed around and had a kid. We had dated before, messed around, made a mistake. And then I said, I could care less whether I talk to the mother ever again. I just want to be an involved father. And the judge is like, oh, then we don't need a restraining order. And then all the females in the room are like, no, save her, help her. He goes, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'll grant another 2 weeks. He said, you got a parenting plan yet? I said, no, Your Honor, it takes longer than that. I finally got a court hearing in family court in 2 weeks from now. He goes, okay, I'll grant this temporary order. And it drops off on that day, and you guys don't ever come back to my courtroom again. So he saw it was just some baby mama drama, and it wasn't that serious enough to have a restraining order. Now, It's ironic because I won in that hearing, and that judge actually presided over a divorce of one of my friends, this Brazilian immigrant, and she got royally screwed. And I met her in a non-custodial parents' rights group, and she used to volunteer and help a lot of people out. And that judge kind of screwed her. And so he helped out the dad in that case. He helped me out. So maybe he's down to earth and pro dad or something like that, which you run into every once in a long while. But I had to make up my mind. I'm separating from these people. I had to call her out and say something that was going to hurt her because I'm trying to get my kid. Once she said, you can't see your kid unless you get a court order, I dare you. And then she's in the court. See, because I'm playing it cool. You know, I just posted a video about this dad getting shot and killed during a visitation exchange because he went over there and he was mad and upset and he wanted to argue with everybody and he wanted to force, by manly brute force, he wanted to force access to his kid. And then he got shot and killed. The guy who shot and killed him didn't even get charged because of self-defense. You got to be stealth and make your mind up. This is for the long haul. I'm going to endure this and when you come to bumps in the road, it's not as tormenting. It's tormenting inside to go to court and expect to win and expect to get this and that. Instead of, if I lose, here's plan B. If this doesn't work out, here's plan B. And I'm in it for the long haul. And I know I'm going to suffer. I know I'm going to get lied about. When you expect that to come, it's not that big of a surprise. If you expect total justice and everybody to be perfectly holy and righteous, like a lot of you pie in the sky, what's it called? Utopian weirdos think, oh, the court system is always just and this is what the law says, so I should have my rights. You dumb ass mother effer. Have you ever heard of anybody being in prison and was falsely accused? You ever heard of the Central Park Five? You ever heard of a guy getting out and he was falsely accused and then the DNA evidence showed otherwise? You ever heard of the Duke lacrosse case where those Duke lacrosse boys hired a stripper one night and she falsely accused them of rape and it ruined their lives for 2 years? The court system can't be perfect because the eyes of justice are seen through human eyes. So just like politics, we have a great constitution that gives balances of power and we're a constitutional republic. But when men are pussies like we are nowadays and we don't get involved in politics or don't stand up and the government comes and says, wear a mask and close your doors and don't come outside and don't breathe and don't hug your children. If you're a man with balls, you'll tell Fauci to F off and you'll smash his little man disease punk bitch ass. But if you're a bitch, like 90% of people were during that time, you'll just comply because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or ruffle any feathers. Because you've been a bitch your whole life and never stood up for anything. Because you worry about what everybody thinks about you. When I was a kid, if there was a group of kids talking and joking, now, I gave into some of this stuff sometimes, but for the most part, everybody's sitting around in middle school being fake and talking about this and talking about getting laid or going and partying and stuff, and half the people don't even do that. They're just trying to fit in. I just slip away and fade out. Like that Homer Simpson gif where he's sitting in front of some bushes and then he fades out slowly and he disappears in the bushes? That's what I would do. I would rather be out of the group than to be fake and not be myself. I've had that since I was a kid. I don't know why, I just have. I got made fun of, like, in high school, I was a virgin. I didn't drink. I never been drunk in my life. I got made fun of a guy who was an average basketball player on the basketball team. We were taking the bus somewhere, and he's laughing at me and talking about how I don't party and how I'm not screwing women in the back of a car and all this other stuff. I didn't give a shit whether some loser thought of me that way. It was my body, it was my stuff I'm protecting and keeping and preserving for the right time or whatever. And it's my body that I'm not influenced with alcohol. And then actually that guy, 20 years later at a high school reunion, he said he came to the high school reunion just to see me and two other guys because he respected the way we stood our ground and the way we carried ourselves in high school. But if I was a peer pressure bitch, I'd have tried to impress that loser. So... That being said, I went to court not caring what anybody says or anybody did. And in that restraining order hearing, because I got on the offensive, because I called a spade, the mother said stuff like, when we went back for the second hearing, the judge was like, okay, did he talk to your coworker and set up visitation? Any of that happen? No, he didn't even call my coworker once. So the mother came to court for a restraining order that she's complaining I'm not talking to her coworker. And I'm not going to call her coworker because her coworker sat at a desk right next to her desk. And if I'm restrained from the mother, and if I violate the restraining order, have any third-party contact with her or whatever, I could go to jail. I'm not giving her any ammunition to falsely accuse me. See, I had some freaking common sense. That's why I give no tolerance to you guys doing dumbass, stupid-ass moves that sabotage your case. Because I was there, and I didn't have the advice that I give you guys now. I didn't have a mentor that was really helping me. I had Bob Calls from Dads Against Discrimination who knew this much. He had been out of court for like 15 years, so he was out of touch a little bit, but he knew some things. And the mother comes to court and complaining. And I'm like, she's complaining, Your Honor. What's the deal? And so he started seeing through that stuff. And then she said, well, if he wants to see his kid, he should keep up with his fiduciary duty. And he goes, wait a minute, are you saying he needs to pay you money to see his own kid? Oh, no, I didn't say that. See, the more I told the truth, the more she didn't have an out. But when you guys sit there and shut your trap and you don't call her out, and then she has to come up with another excuse, if you don't call her out, then she could just sit on her main lie. If you don't attack her main lie, then you don't expose her. I was exposing the mother, so when she tried to think of different excuses or different complaints, she looked like an idiot. But you pussies out there won't attack the mother, won't say anything bad about her because it'll hurt everybody's feelings, or your lawyer told you not to do it, and your lawyer is your Lord and Savior, and you don't follow your conscience. See, I followed my conscience and common sense. And I was willing to go through hell for my daughter. And it turned out having that mentality made me get on the offensive, which made me engage in the war of attrition, and I didn't even know what I was doing. And you guys, I tell you this is what worked for me and thousands of others, and you're like, no, I already tried to go to court and I lost. You didn't do what I did, bitch. You're not listening to me. Your ego's kind of, well, I did this and I lost, so I'm not going to try somebody else's thing because I got too much pride to try somebody else. So you got too much pride to fight for your kid? Nobody's out here keeping a report card on everybody in family court. It's you and your kids. You walk away from your court case with or without your kids. I had a court hearing, finally. I got 0 visitation. I appealed from a family law commissioner to a judge, which you can do in California. They have commissioners down there. Most states have a magistrate or a friend of the court, or there's another one that's a weird name in Pennsylvania. There's always an appellate process. I exercise every opportunity. Half of you guys, at least, it's probably way more, but at least half of you, if you lose a court hearing, you don't even attempt to exercise that little mini appeal. Why the hell would you not do that? You're a pussy. There's no other explanation. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Why don't you get off your lazy pussy ass and look and find out, what can I do about this? I lost a hearing. You know what I did when I lost that hearing? I called around. And some father's rights group said, you need to do a motion for revision. What's that? Oh, you got 10 days. And I was on like day 8. So I looked at the law on it, and I looked and scratched and clawed, and I got my motion for revision in within 10 days. And guess what? I went up in front of a judge, and the mother showed up with an attorney and needed a continuance. So it's delayed again. I got pussy-ass bitches in the comments that well, they keep continuing my stuff. So what? Keep at it. Be a man. Be a warrior. You get cut from the basketball team, go out and shoot 500 shots every day in the offseason. You don't get the job you want? Go get an apprenticeship or go get a higher level education or something. Keep at it, bitch. Be a real man. So then, after our restraining order thing started, let's see, that was March 15th. Was that a March 15th? I don't know if that was when I was served or that's probably, I think that was the first hearing. No, March 15th is when I was served. So I got served March 15th. 2.5 months go by, and then I finally get a hearing in front of a judge. She gives me 5 days a week visitation. My perseverance and toughing it out and trying again and not quitting and giving up paid off. And my daughter was like 3 months old and 4 months old. And I got 5 days a week visitation with her. 4 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, because the mother's at work. And I split the time with the daycare. I should have got her 8 hours because the daycare doesn't have any rights, but I didn't know how to argue that. And I would have done a reconsideration if I knew about reconsideration back then. But I didn't have anybody mentoring me that knew about that stuff. The guy that mentored me was just astonished that I got what I got. He didn't, if that was me, I would have said, why don't you do a reconsideration on this one part? See, you guys got all this help. I didn't have any of it. And I won my battle in 7 months because I went into the war of attrition. I didn't even know what I was doing. Wore her down until she surrendered. And I got her found in contempt soon after that. But my main point is that the judge when I got 5 days a week, the judge said, I can't believe you people. You got all this conflict. Look at all this paperwork in my hand. She, your motion and your motion. Look at all this. The child's only a few months old. Grow up, people. Get a grip. And then she turns to me and says, Mr. Christensen, it's not my child. It's our child. So that was the only thing she had against me, that I said my child one time instead of ours. And then she turned to the mother and said, you should be glad the father wants to be in the kid's life. You should be happy when he comes over to pick up the kid. Oh, dad's going to be here. This is great. Go see your dad. And same thing for you, Mr. Christensen, when you give the kid back. Do you think I gave a rat's ass about the 5 seconds where she rebuked us and said, grow up, people? I walked away with my kid, and you pussy-ass bitches are out there saying, I don't want to piss off the judge. I did piss off my judge, and that same judge gave me 5 days a week. Stop being a pussy-ass bitch. That's the number one problem. Not your knowledge of the law, not whether you tried this wrong thing or that wrong thing, not that you have an attorney. You're being a pussy-ass bitch because once you go to court and realize that doesn't work, let me try something else. Most of you are like, no, I lost. I'm just going to cry. Father's Rights Movement, guys. Where's your blog? Let's all get together. When's the next meeting so I can spoon with you guys? Let's all cuddle together and dry hump and whisper sweet nothings and lick each other's necks and say, oh, you poor baby. The last time I went to a Father's Rights Movement meeting, it was about 2012 or 14. And there was a guy there who said, I haven't seen my kids in a year. I said, why don't you do contempt? He said, I already tried contempt. I'm like, do you have a court order? Yeah. Do contempt every week that you miss time and keep at it. I said, I won contempt my first try. And then he looked at me and shook his head and he didn't want to talk to me the rest of the night. He didn't want to hear it because he quit on his kids. You faggot ass bitch. Quit on your kids. And then people want to talk shit to me. I'm already done. My daughter's 24. We have a great relationship. She just texted me, I love you today. She just went with her mother to a University of Washington baseball game. And while she's at the baseball game, she's texting me, hey, what are you up to, Dad? How you doing? While she's with her mom. Her mom came back around finally, moved back to Seattle. And now she wants to be in her life after she missed out on most of the hard part. So it's not like I'm not up here for my own good. Yeah, I charge for consults. Yeah, I have a store with papers. It's 1/10 the cost of Judge Anthony, you whining, crying little welfare mentality bitches. You spend $100,000 on an attorney and it hurts your butthole to spend a few $20 bills to talk to me and learn more information than you ever will with an attorney? You got to be out of your damn mind to not get help from me. Now, if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can watch all my free videos, and if you're a real man, like about a handful of guys, I know about 10 guys who watched my free videos, never got a consult with me, and got full custody or 50-50 just by watching the free stuff. You could do that if you want. That's why there's no excuse. You excuse-making bitches can go to a Father's Rights Movement, faggot orgy, and go dry hump those crybaby bitches. Because there's plenty of you guys out there. 90% of these guys don't want to fight for their kids because they're a bunch of pussy-ass bitches. And I hate to say it the way that I say it, but that's the reality of what it is. When Martin Luther King or Malcolm X was marching, they didn't say, oh, these white supremacists, they have a really good heart. They're just pro-white, and they just haven't really got to know us yet. They called it out. Feminists called misogyny out, even though half of their message was bullshit, but it resonated. Meanwhile, what do men do? What do men do when we get railroaded or when they talk about toxic masculinity? Now there's a backlash with Kevin Samuels, Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit. You know, which I don't agree with everything those guys say, especially about being a player and you have to, if you want a high quality man, you got to share him with other women. Like, I don't believe in that stuff. But they make a bunch of great points and there's a backlash against feminism now. But for the longest, for 25, 35 years, all the single mom raised little bitch men just sat there when the women are like, men suck, misogyny. We need you to be more of a soy boy. We need you to show your feelings and stuff. Men just sat there like this, doing nothing. Andrew Tate, no matter whether you like Andrew Tate or not, he makes a great point, and so do a bunch of other dudes. But in the history of the world, what do they usually do? They take out the alpha males and the warriors and they try and ambush them because then everybody else is free game. Men protect. If you can emasculate, if you can turn all the men into faggot bitches or make them soft, then you destroy society because they're the only ones who are going to stand up for anything. I got some comments here. Let me see here. So this gay faggot, Benny Sharpton, came on my page. He subbed just to talk shit to me, and then he got off. Okay, I thought somebody had a question. So, if you're coming on this page, just to comment your losing story. Nobody cares about your testimonial. Your loser-monial. Your testicle-less-monial. Maybe I should be nice about this, but if you come on a page where I'm saying, here's a solutions-based page that talks about how to win in court, here's how I won, and I'm showing you. You know, if you go to a page about a millionaire how he built a business and stuff like that, unless he's saying, come to my seminar, if somebody shows you and can show you that they have tangible results, why would you question or hate on them? And why wouldn't you not get answers? You can sit there and say, oh, screw them, they got lucky or they got a break. Okay, then get off the page and stop following them. Why would you follow me and put on in the comments, this is how I lost, James. This is how my loser life has turned out to be losing. And I lost this way and I lost this way, and I can't believe it. Why wouldn't you say, hey, I guess maybe at the beginning each video, I need to tell people, hey, get a consult with me if you're lost, or watch my free videos. It should be common sense. Like, I wouldn't go to a Michael Jordan basketball camp and raise my hand and say, you know what? I got cut from my basketball team. You got cut from yours when you were a sophomore. And then you ended up being the greatest player of all time. But your stuff doesn't work for me because I got cut my sophomore and my junior year. Why the hell would I go and do that and tell this guy he doesn't know shit, or tell him my loser story when he's telling people how to get better? No winner wants to hear that. I remember Kobe Bryant said, I don't like negative people. I don't understand them. I don't want them anywhere around me. I have a goal and I'm going to do it. F everybody else. And people think I'm a jerk because I'm saying, get off my page if you're a loser bitch and don't want to fight. Now, I've had guys who said, call me up and say, I need a consult. I'm tired of being a pussy and getting ran over. Great. I'm not going to hammer you and say, well, this is why, 10 reasons why, you were a pussy, or tell me 10 ways that you were a pussy and let's badger you to death or beat a dead horse. I want to help people get moving forward now. I don't want to waste any time. This is why people call me and say, can I call you and talk to you about my case a little bit? No, you can call me and get a consult. And then when you start rambling about some stupid ass bullshit, I'll say, you need to do this, do contempt, go pick up your kids. I had a guy who, he hadn't seen his kids in a couple weeks, or no, he was doing like he was only seeing his kids like during the day. He didn't have a court order. The mother said, okay, you can have them Wednesday night and then bring them home midday Thanksgiving so I can share Thanksgiving. He picked them up. He said, I'll bring them back to school on Monday. He had 5 days in a row and the visit went great. The mother called the cops and the cops wouldn't even do anything. Like I tell you guys all the time. And he had a great visit, and he had proof that he done just fine. Now, when he went to court, they gave him every other weekend, but he wasn't getting even any overnights. So he wouldn't have got any. That's why I didn't get any overnights right away. I hadn't had any yet. If somebody would have came along and told me, James, just go, and when she gives you the kid, just keep the kid overnight, and you got proof the kid did overnight, I might have had a chance to get overnights. I might have done it even better. I know if in 2001 I had somebody like me with a page like this, my 7-month custody battle would have lasted 3 months. And half of you guys out there are pissing, whining, crying, and moaning, and blah, 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 and yakety yak, and not taking any action and getting any help or applying the stuff that I'm saying. You just want to come on my page and talk about how you lost. Sweet. Okay. Elgin Thrower Jr. says, I've been watching your videos. I got my first corrupt GAL to withdraw from the case after I wrote a 73-page motion proving she was a feminist lying psycho. Representing myself, I get things done. Awesome. That's what I like to hear. If you're going to come on my page, come with that story. If you say, look, I'm sick and tired of losing, how do I get a hold of you or whatever? Like the sense of urgency and the thirst that I had for knowledge on how to win and how to fight. If I had to come across this page, like let's say I'm not James. Let's say I'm you. If I come across this Father's Rights and Resource page, how I got custody, I'm looking at the bio and the description and all this stuff, and in the comments or in the description underneath. If I watch a music review video, I like watching music review videos from I love Jamel, aka Jamal. It's the first. I was looking for a Doobie Brothers video. He did a review to it. He made it so fun. It was during COVID. It was almost like having a sit down barbecue fireside chat with an old buddy, watching those videos. So I like watching videos like that. And then when I watch the videos, I'll look in the description like, okay, what year was this album or what year was this song? And then I'm like, where else can I find this guy? Some of you don't even have that curiosity, and we're talking about your life with your kids. Some people don't even look at the description. They'll just say in the comments, how do I get a hold of you? Because you're a lazy ass bitch. And you just say, how do I get a hold of you? And if I don't see your comment, don't reply, you won't reach out for help. You're a dumbass. You don't deserve your kids if you're that lazy. Now, this guy, he's sitting there saying he got a GAL kicked off his case. I never got a GAL kicked off my case. Now, I destroyed them, and the GALs would make recommendations, and the court would deny them. I had one GAL, the judge said, the GAL report is disregarded and totally unreliable. She didn't get kicked off the case, but her reporting was a waste, so it's kind of the same thing. But this guy, see, I love hearing this stuff, and I'm not mad at him. I'm not jealous that somebody did better than me. I'm happy about that stuff. I wish this word would get out there. I wish mother effers would repost my stuff everywhere. Not because it's just me and I want to get famous or I want to get rich, because this ain't the way to get rich, doing this stuff. Because there's millions of clientele potentially, and when you even find them, only 1% actually want to buy into your product, actually winning, because they got to put some effort into it. Just like we got gyms everywhere on the corner, nutrition this, nutrition that, vitamin supplement places, all the information in the world about eating healthy and all that stuff. And we got the most morbidly obese group of people in the history of the world in America, because people don't want it. It's right there at their fingertips. That's probably a good comparison, because right at your fingertips is the answer to get custody or 50-50 or whatever. And I got mother effers calling me up saying, I'm totally lost. You have all the answers. Let me tell you my loser side of the story. Let me tell you what didn't work for me. Let me tell you, I want to sue Division of Child Support. I want to go and eliminate my child support. I want to overthrow the government. You stupid mother effer. You can't even get visitation in your own family law case. Shut the F up and listen to somebody. Some of you guys need to learn how to listen too. I've had consultations where as soon as I start talking and giving, like someone asks a question, I start talking halfway through the sentence, they jump in. They don't want to hear the answer. Or they think of something else and they got a retention problem, or they got ADHD. I've had some people who've had ADHD and I had to tell them, look, I can't help you. Because they'll go, and they'll like raise their voice over me. Like, that's too much information. I need you to slow down. Okay, I'll slow down. And then I slow down and I'm like this. What about this? And what about that? And what about this? And I need to do a video call with you. I can't do this over the phone. Okay, I'll do a video call. Well, I need you to do this and I need you to. Dude, I'm not. If you can't get help for your ADHD and you're going to walk in a court like that, you're going to lose your case. I'm not helping you because you don't want to get your shit together. There's some responsibility on your part. If you can't communicate with me or communicate with the judge effectively, you have to figure something out. I had to figure everything, every single thing I did, I had to figure out on my own. I got some help from Bob Carls. I got some help from Dennis Gack, National Brotherhood of Fathers' Rights. They gave me this much information. I needed this much information. I found all this other stuff myself and learned more on my own after that. You have to be willing to do some stuff for yourself here. I was calling Bob Carls. I need an appointment, blah, 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 blah. Leave him a message. He didn't want to talk to me for a week sometimes because this stuff would burn him out because he got sick and tired of hearing these stories. And I've been doing this for 24 years. None of you bitches have one legitimate single complaint to me. Unless I make an error with some statistic or something like that. And feel free to correct me with something. I have this psycho bitch, that child support, your child support bestie. She's posting how men can get 50-50 easily. She's a child support officer. And she's telling everybody what goes on in family court cases because she saw a couple days of court one day and a couple guys got 50-50 because everybody agreed on it. And I said she's a lying bitch. And then I said, she's probably a racist too, because what she was doing, it's like, I got a half black husband, baby dad. First of all, that doesn't mean shit in and of itself. You're probably likely not racist. I have a bunch of black male clients with white babies' moms, and they're racist because they don't want their biracial child to enjoy the black culture side of their family. There was slave master. Thomas Jefferson had a slave girlfriend, you bitch. Just because you have a black boyfriend, that just means you have a chocolate fantasy. You want to be down, or you want to be cool like all your other white girlfriends who got a black boyfriend. I have never, ever in my life bragged about or ran around saying, oh, I'm not racist because I got a black baby's mom. Stupid ass airheaded fat ugly bitch. There's nothing wrong with being fat and ugly. I'm not too, but talking shit and lying to people and deceiving people is some bullshit. And then I said she's probably racist because she's looking at the court system and thinking these dads are not going through what they say they're going through. That's bullshit. Black people talk about all the stuff they have to go through on a daily basis, or little snides or micro-aggressive, racist stuff that's not tangible, we don't see. Anything anybody says that they've gone through, if you're not them and you haven't been in their shoes, you don't know what the hell they've gone through. Some of them overhype stuff. We do overhype racism. And there's some stuff that we ignore. There's cop shootings that are legitimate and that are hyped up on TV. And there's cop shootings that were murder that never get any press. Nobody's talking about Amadou Diallo anymore. All these down for the cause white folks. They never said anything about Amadou Diallo or Khalif Browder. But since there were BLM protests, now everybody's hopping the bandwagon. Oh, that's racist. That's racist. That's over the top. But this bitch was saying, fathers, they're sitting there saying, we struggle and we can't get this. And she's shitting on them. In the same manner, somebody shits on black people saying, oh, the justice system is perfectly fine. The justice system treats you right. Cops treat you right. Everybody treats you right. So that's the same mentality a racist has. So I said something like that. And then she's in the comments, how dare you say that I'm a racist? And she doesn't defend her position on anything else. She just got triggered by that. And I said she was lying about fathers and 50-50 and stuff. Anyway, I made her look stupid. And she had a bunch of her retarded psycho female friends jump in the comments too. Oh, since this guy was talking about Elgin Thrower Jr. was saying that he got a guardian line and kicked off his case. That's awesome. I've had guys who, I have guys who come back to me and say, James, I found this case law that says this and that. I'm like, I didn't know that. I want you guys to be able to take what I know and do better. Bob Carls, who taught me, I took his stuff and I ran with it, and I did it 100-fold or 100 times. I exceeded his expectations beyond his belief. He was shocked when he saw my parenting plan. I went back, and see, some of you dumbass mother effers didn't even do what I did when you signed an order. When me and her attorney were finalizing our court order, I took it to Bob Carl and said, do you see any flaws in this or problems with that? I think he maybe showed like one thing that he didn't like about it. I wanted to double check, and some of you dumbass idiots know about me, and you wait until after you have a court order or after your court hearing, then you call me, and it's too late to do a reconsideration, or you get screwed. What the F is wrong with you bitches? The way that I'm talking like this, it's because you guys need to wake the F up. Because the people who watch some of my videos or my instructional videos or when I'm way more calm than this, they call me up and say, I need help from James. I had a guy who was doing contempt, and he saw my videos on contempt, and he texted me about 7 o'clock at night, and he's in Atlanta, and he has the contempt hearing tomorrow. Let's just pretend this is, go back to the time, it was like a year, 2 years ago. He said, dude, I need to talk to you now. How do I pay you? How do we get an appointment? I need to talk to you tonight. And it's 7 o'clock. And I'm like, where are you? So he was going to talk to me 1 a.m. his time. I spent an hour talking to him. He destroyed the mother and her attorney. He got makeup time for 3 months because he hadn't seen his kid for 3 months. He missed every other weekend. So he got every weekend for 3 months. And then the judge said, you guys go out and modify this part of your parenting plan and agree. If you don't, I'm throwing you in jail for 21 days. Destroyed them. Why? Because he had a sense of urgency. I probably should have started off with this story. He had a sense of urgency to get answers. He saw my videos. He's like, I don't need to see your proof. I know you know what the hell you're talking about. I need to talk to you now. So I was like, okay, dude. He paid me. There wasn't an argument over paying or waiting or whatever. You know, all the contacts I get throughout the week, about a third of them reach out for an appointment. A third of them follow through and set up an appointment. You know, I say, are you aware of my rates? I thank everybody for reaching out when they do. Because after this, I'm not here just to chew people out for the fun of it. I'm waking the hell up. You want to get help? Let's go. Let's go to work. Let's fight. They call me up. Thanks for reaching out. Do you know my rates? No. And some people say, I didn't know you charged. Whatever, dude. It's right there. Here's my rates and this and that. And some people set up an appointment. And if I don't get payment in, like I had 3 no-shows this week. And if I miss a consult, I make it up to people. I thoroughly, if somebody's a no-show for a consult with me, I don't get anything made up. I just waste my time. If I was up till 4 a.m, like I was last night helping this girl in trial, who, by the way, I'm helping a female who hasn't seen her kids in a couple years, and she destroyed the father and his attorney at trial. We haven't got a ruling yet. I have a feeling she's going to immediately get back in her kid's life, and it's going to be reunification really fast, but we'll see. She was a wreck when she got a hold of me when her custody case started a couple years ago, and then she just disappeared because she's so depressed and overwhelmed. And I don't go hunting people down and chasing them down. If you don't want my help, you don't. And then now trial came around. She knows she had to get her shit together, and she did, actually. I worked my ass off helping her get ready for trial. And then I got people who are no-shows and inconsiderate. See, you got one case to worry about. I'm juggling stuff like this trial. They got other people hitting me up. They got other people whining and crying. And they got friends who want some information. I'm bombarded all day long sometimes with a bunch of bull crap. And here's a text. Go watch this 2-hour video on father's rights. Dude, I don't give a shit. I am father's rights, you dumbass. Why do I need instructions on this stuff? Why do I need this loser story? Why do I need to hear from you? You need my help, mother effer. If you're not calling me for an appointment, I don't want to talk to you. I don't need to talk to you. I'm not trying to be an a-hole. I can't be the savior. I got 9,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube. If everybody called me and just told me what their bad story was and wanted me to read this and that, what the hell? You think I got time for that shit? I'm here with answers. Do you want answers? Let's go. You don't want answers? Bye. What else am I supposed to do for you? I'm not your savior. I'm not your pastor. I'm not the Holy Spirit. I'm not your lover. Get your ass over your butt hurt situation. Now, I feel bad for you, and I do console some of my clients once they get going and they want some help. I've had, I've had a couple guys call me up and cry after their trial. I talked to you a year ago, and I didn't listen to you, and I got screwed. I need you to help me, reconsideration or appeal or whatever. And I'll listen to them because they want some help. But if that's hindering you from doing it, well, James, you need to prove to me that I can win in my case. How am I supposed to prove to you anything until it happens? How am I supposed to prove who was in the Super Bowl this year? I barely pay attention to that shit now. It was who beat Kansas City? Philadelphia beat Kansas City. I'm so old, they're all running together. I was a Philadelphia fan when they lost to Oakland and broke my heart. Jim Plunkett beat them. I hated Jim Plunkett. I can't sit there and talk to the Kansas City Chiefs and say, I know you guys are going to win because of this and that. Nobody would say that. No coach would say that. They got to get as ready as possible and go with their effort, and they got their ass handed to them, even though I'm sure they prepared as best they could. I can't predict anything for it. I can't guarantee anything. You're a pussy-ass cowardly bitch if you need guarantees and a hug and your hand held and make sure everything's going to be okay and you're not going to feel rejected or lose. You're afraid of the unknown. Bitch, get over that shit. Your life with your kid is on the line. There's a dark tunnel ahead of you, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That light is your child, mother effer. Go to that light. Go through the tunnel. The tunnel is dark. It's scary. It's an Indiana Jones tunnel, like the Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movies. There's traps. There's a boulder rolling behind you. You're just going to stand there until you get ran over and killed? Get moving, asshole. And I have to talk like this because the fathers' rights movement, they go, oh, fathers are people too. You have a right to your kids, and the system is bad. We're going to change some laws in the next 47 years, and you're 50 years old or 40 years old. In 47 years, we expect to have 50-50 laws in place. And why don't you just help us out with that and give a donation and make Mark Ludwig the faggot twin of that guy from The Hangover? Let's give him a bunch of money so he can go around and get photo ops and get hard-ons every time he's with a legislator and stands in front of a crowd because he never accomplished anything else in his life significant. So let's do that. Pussy-ass bitches. Are you going for full custody or not? Are you rescuing your kids from a child abuse or not? Then you ain't doing shit. If you went to court and lost and you're complaining about it, are you talking to somebody who won it? Like this contempt example. You lost contempt. What are you doing about it now, mother effer? I don't need to hear your loser story. I won. Why would I listen to a loser story? Some of you guys are effing retarded and have no freaking self-awareness. You look like a bitch. Aren't you embarrassed that you look like a bitch? Just whining and crying. Now you can say, hey, look, I went to court and lost this and that. What should I do next? And I'm probably going to have to say, the best thing to do is get a consult or do your research and find out other stuff. The guy who made the recent comment about what he did in ex parte court and what he did in contempt court, right off the top of my head, there was 3 things he did wrong and 3 different things I would have done that may have gotten him his kids by now. But he didn't even want to ask, stupid ass mother effer. The insanity of my gender is enraging. You're talking to somebody who won and you just want to tell your loser story. It makes no freaking sense. Let me see these other comments. I'm still saving for a console. I'll be going. Okay, cool. Elgin. My lawyer was telling me not to fight against the lying GAL. I was furious. There you go. Everybody look at this. This dude, Elgin Thrower Jr., comments that he had a lawyer and his lawyer saying, don't fight against the guardian ad litem. Anybody who believe, now he didn't believe, he was furious. Your video and you said, it's a fight. Why not defend yourself? I demanded to fight. My lawyer withdrew, did it myself. And then boom, he got the GAL kicked off. I've never gotten GAL kicked off. I've never gotten a judge recused, even though I demanded my judge recuse himself. When I'm suing my judge in federal court, he said, well, I can still be objective. There's a lady who came on and said she got 2 judges kicked off her case. I love hearing that stuff. See, I'm not a hater bitch like you guys. You guys get mad at me that I won and that you lost and you have hater bitch drama queen energy. This guy, this is awesome hearing this stuff. And he figured it out on his own. And a lot of you guys, you get mad, but then you tuck that away, and your inner bitch says, Joe Rogan talks about his inner bitch, your inner bitch says, oh yeah, listen to the attorney, don't stand up, don't follow your conscience. This guy said he was furious that his lawyer said, don't attack the GAL. Who is the GAL? If you guys have some freaking common sense that God gave a monkey, who is a GAL? They're one witness or one person going to court to argue one side. If you're going to court, why can't you argue your side and say this witness, this advocate, this lawyer is lying? They do it in criminal court all the time. You see it on Law and Order all the time. You see people in movies that are about legal cases. This person is lying. That person isn't telling the truth. The whole purpose of court is to expose lies. You freaking retarded, dumbed down numbnuts. You are a subhuman piece of shit airhead if your life with your kid is on the line and people come to court and lie, and then you say, well, I can't tell the court that the liars are lying. Then the liars get to say their story. The whole purpose of, I just read a legal scholar in New Zealand. I was helping a guy in New Zealand. There's this paper where this guy is talking about depositions. He said, we should do depositions in New Zealand because they can't do them. This guy, he's a professor of law somewhere at the University of Washington or something begins with a W, Washburg or something in New Zealand. He said the number one tool, I told you guys this in my deposition video, the number one tool or weapon is a deposition in any civil matter. We should use this because the right to confront your witnesses against you or your accusers is a fundamental liberty and blah, blah, blah. The whole purpose of somebody going on the stand and say, just think about this. Like O.J. Simpson, if his lawyer's in the case, they get up there and say, yeah, O.J. did it. It looks like his fingerprints, his blood sample. In the O.J. Simpson case, the police stole O.J. Simpson's blood sample out of the lab. His blood sample was this vial, and then it was looking like this after they found blood at the scene of the crime. So it was automatically deduced that the cops stole blood out of the lab and planted it on the site. That destroyed their case. If O.J. Simpson's lawyers would say, well, we can't say the police are lying, they'll look bad. That's what you need to do to prove your case. What do you do when somebody slanders you? You say that's a lie. What do you do when your wife or boyfriend or girlfriend lies about you or lies to you? You confront the lie. But when your life with your kid is on the line, you bitch-ass, faggoty little hoe, punk-ass coward say, oh, I can't talk about liars because, right? So you let the liar come up with their lie, and then you hope by osmosis the judge is They're going to say you're a child abusing, psychotic narcissist who beat up women all before her, and you beat her up. And then you're going to say, hey, I have good attendance at work, and my coworkers like me, and I go to church over here, and my friends over here say I'm a good dad. That doesn't attack the lie. They'll win on the lie, you stupid numbnuts, mother effing gay boy bitch. This is insane that you guys think you could go to court, a place of confrontation. See, listen to the language of court. You have oral argument. You get to argue in court. That's a legal word. And you're like, I don't want to argue. I will look like a really toxic masculinity, infected, aggressive male. You faggot ass bitch. I don't even have enough words for how horrible this is. They lie about you. So the language is, you have oral argument. You have a contested hearing with contested facts. You impeach the credibility of a witness. You counter or rebuttal or cross-examine. You're examining somebody. You're infiltrating their mind and their words, and you're putting it under scrutiny. You effing retarded bitch. When you go out and play football, you say, okay, well, I'm not going to hit them that hard because I like them, and they're going to come running at full speed. If you don't go full speed ahead, that collision is going to hurt, but it's not going to hurt as bad if you sit there like a sitting duck and say, well, I don't want to run after them. I'll let them hit me. You will get killed. You can't be this freaking retarded. This is the answers that people need to wake the hell up. Look at this guy. Elgin Thrower Jr. said that he got a guardian ad litem kicked off his case. His lawyer said, don't even attack the guardian ad litem. He told his attorney to F off like I told Goldberg and Jones. Goldberg and Jones tell me you'll get every other weekend. I went to court and got 5 days a week when my daughter was a baby. I told them I work at night. I should be able to have my daughter during the day. They told me I still wouldn't be able to get my daughter. Watch my video on YouTube about Goldberg and Jones. I said, screw you, official, just think politics. Just think people who advertise or a salesman in the company, they always pump stuff up to be better than it is. These lawyers are going to go and fake everything. Politicians say, well, I'm fighting for you and I'm representing you and I'm doing this for you. And behind the scenes, they're doing all this dirty, shady shit. Your lawyer's saying, well, I'm going to fight for you. And then when it comes down to it, oh, we don't want to fight that hard. We don't want to do this. And they do shady shit. Attorneys advertise openly in public, I will zealously and aggressively fight for you. And then they're saying when we go to court, we can't fight. It looks bad. And then you guys love to go watch Judge Anthony because he was a judge. He was a corrupt judge in the system. I forgot to say this earlier. He was a judge for 20 years, a lawyer for 5 years. He said, I didn't realize how bad family court was until I had to go through my own divorce. So he did it 25 years, and he had no clue of what his own clients were going through. That shows you he's a callous sociopath. Why the F would you follow a bitch-ass faggot, fruity little, trying to be down, white boy who thinks he's black, shaking his booty like a solid gold dancer on testimonial day? You idiots don't have common sense. God gave a monkey. And what it comes down to at the core, this is what it is. You don't give a shit about your kids. Because if you did, you would learn how to do stuff. If you cared about your kids, your love for your kids would make you fight through the pain, fight through the false allegations, fight through the suffering, fight through the long, drawn-out bullcrap. But some of you mother effers, you go out and just get another girlfriend and have more kids, you stupid-ass bitch. Now you got conflict in there because this court case is taken away from your family life where you should be able to vote. It's hard enough working as a man in society and making a living and scrapping to get by in this tough world where these mother effing demons tax us to death. And there should be no taxes. There is no income tax. There is no law requiring it. We just voluntarily give it like a bunch of punk ass bitches. It's hard enough to just be a man and survive, and then you're responsible for family, and you dumbass, lonely, simp-ass bitches, because you're going through family court, you have to go get another woman because you need sex that bad on demand, or you're just lonely. Be a freaking warrior, bitch! Don't you like movies like Braveheart? Or, I didn't see this, but there's that movie with Brad Pitt, I never saw the movie. He fights a David and Goliath type of fight. What is it? Troy. Or any other heroic movie. Don't you like it when a man is being a man's man? That's what I look for. That's why guys like MMA. That's why I like football. It's the only time we have an outlet to be a real man and be a warrior and stuff. But here's a chance to be a warrior. Oh, die for my kids. The mother's serving you paper. Oh my gosh, you're doing this. Why are you doing this to me? And then you show your simp side, and then she's like, oh, I got this mother effer. I got him now. It's insane. I show you guys all the proof in the world. I don't give a shit about Judge Anthony or Family Court Corner, that psycho, ugly bitch who looks like she was the crazy narcissist in that relationship. I don't know. She might have been the wrong one, but she doesn't look all that healthy in their head. And what she did was like, oh my God, there's so much need in family court. Let me seize this moment and do a business in family court and help people, but make a killing at $250 an hour. See, the stuff that I have, and then guys say some stupid ass, no self-awareness bullshit. Well, I wish I would have found you 3 years ago. If you're pussy ass bitch, if you would have got off of your labia and went looking for help, you would have found me, bitch, but you didn't give a shit. So you guys when you open your mouth, you tell whether you give a shit about your kids or not. And I call people out for it, and they hate me for it. I don't call people out directly, but some people get offended. They jump in the comments, how dare you say that about me? I wasn't talking to you, bitch. If the shoe fits, wear it. You throw a rock in a pack of dogs, the one that gets hit barks. A bunch of faggots out there say, how dare you do that? And they're basically saying, that's me. I'm a simp little bitch. I didn't want to fight for my... How dare you tell us the system is against us? No shit, you no self-awareness, narcissist, diva little bitch. I went through the same thing. Don't you think I know that? I'm just not whining and crying and bitching and moaning about it. I'm not on here like fathers are important or fathers 247 or 50-50 dad or the father's rights movement or dad talk today. That fat, greasy little bitch of a faggot. What's his name? Carlos something. Whine, cry, piss, moan. Whine, cry, piss, moan. The system is bad. The system. That guy from Dad Talk Today, that bitch made a post. Johnny Depp, we're waiting for you to talk about the Amber Heard trial and that fathers and men are suffering. That bitch is waiting on a savior himself. And all hundreds of thousands of mother effers are following him. For what? To watch everybody complain because it feels good? Misery loves company. You know what? I don't want to sit in a cesspool of misery commiserators, whining, crying, pissing and moaning and bitching. I want to go get my kid because my life with my kid is at stake. And I know I'm not going to win all you over, but I got answers that work for people. And you are one dumbass, faggoty mother effer if you don't want these answers. You don't even have to get a consult with me. I've given you $50,000 worth of free videos on YouTube. If I was broke and couldn't afford an attorney back then, one guy got on my page and said, F you with this fighting and stuff. It's too hard. I got to go to work and overtime. Bitch, I had 2 jobs. When I was going through mine, I had 2 jobs the first 3 years of my daughter's life when I was a single custodial father. You faggot ass bitches tell on yourself every time you criticize me. Now, again, if I'm wrong about some facts or statistics, I'm all for it. That child support bestie lady, emotional basket case little fat ass bitch, I said she's probably a racist because she's looking at men in a discriminatory way and saying, I don't believe your bullshit about you guys suffer. I'm like, well, she's probably racist too. Oh, I'm not racist. I have a light-skinned mixed black husband. You just found a simp that wants to get with your fat ass. Oh, did Elgin say something else? Yeah, so I already talked about that. Free Game said, I just got $400 worth of documents from you a couple weeks ago. That was you? Somebody made a big purchase in my store. I appreciate that. I think I emailed you from the email address you purchased that from. Now, I don't necessarily recommend people go in there and just buy everything up in there. If you want to do that, fine. But ideally, it's best for people if they're considering packets. I have a video on my flow page that says, here's the 3 most important things that people need out of my store. I got like 20 items in my store. Everybody doesn't need everything in there. Now, some people are in the long haul and they're planning for every battle. I've had people say, I want to buy up all your store. I said, wait, let's talk for a minute. And then it turns out they only need 3 or 4 things or something like that. And maybe a couple more for education. But I think I sent you an email about that. Thanks for your purchase. I appreciate that. So look in your email, see if you got one. Or actually, if you don't see an email from me, email me and put in the subject line, bought $400 worth of stuff. Now that's rare for those of you guys say, oh, James is making a killing. Any purchase over $100 is extremely rare. So I appreciate that. I've had a few of them, but they're rare. Most people get some, might get, if they get more than one, it's almost always 2. Sometimes people get 3 and that'll $45. Yeah, that's 120, 135. But 3 packets or more is extremely rare. So I appreciate that. But make sure you email. If you don't see an email from me, I should have emailed you. Maybe I'll go back and look in there and try and find your email. If that's in the... Usually when I get a purchase, I see people's email as part of the receipt. But if you don't see an email... Yeah, it's really a lot of information. So if you guys make a purchase that big, I'm going to give you some free time to talk about the packets that you bought. So that's why I'm telling you to email me, so we could sit and at least talk for a little while about the packets and what you know. So you just made a big purchase, so I feel like I owe you a little something for that. So email me howiGotCustody@gmail.com, or you can text me my phone number, which is under every video and on my main page of the YouTube. So yeah, so let's touch base. So you know what's funny about people not liking me getting mad and raising my voice? If the news, you see people raising their voice all the time. If people hate Donald Trump, or I remember when people hated George Bush or people hate Obama, you see rage and people are like, okay, that's part of politics. That's still those are politicians in Washington, D.C. that generally don't affect your life for the most part on a daily basis, except for taxes and tariffs and things like that. We're talking about your life with your kid. Why should I not be outraged? Somebody gets on and they're talking about a child molesting priest or a child molester or somebody that was let out and raped somebody again. You see people enraged, or a press conference where the people are enraged about something like that. Nobody's mad at that. I'm sitting here talking about kids getting trafficked in family court and their lives being destroyed. And the only way those kids can be saved is if the father grows some balls. Now, I'm not talking about, I deal with women who are dealing with narcissistic, like the lady who is going through trial up here. That dad is a bitch. There's some dads that withhold the kids from the mom for no good reason whatsoever. If they're not a drug dealer and they're not risking a suicide murder, you shouldn't be keeping your kids totally. You are a faggot little bitch. And I want to do videos on these guys. I bet you the mothers don't let me. There's a couple guys that I want to do videos on. I want to have a video. I want to have a feature page of the worst narcissistic parents on my YouTube channel. Right off the top of my head, I want to do a story on my baby's mom. There's another woman named Kim Keir, or I'm sorry, Heather Keir in Maple Valley, Washington, who's a psychotic, narcissistic bitch. She was in and out of court with her baby's dad, took the kids away. Then when she got custody, falsely accused the dad of molestation after she let him have their first daughter. They had another kid, and then she couldn't handle them, so she let one of them live with the dad all the time, and then the other one, he had her like over 50% of the time. And there's text messages galore about that. And she goes to court saying he was abusive and all this other stuff. And she let him have the kids. It was only because he went back to modify and she was going to lose child support. That was it. Every time she had a chance, if I guess he would have just paid her child support, he would have had the kids and had then she would get custody of the kids, and the teenager she'd get in fist fights with her and she'd run away, and the police wouldn't do anything about it. I confronted the police about it one time. They're like, we couldn't tell who was the victim. I said the daughter had her nails ripped out and had a contusion and a concussion, and the mother walked away unscathed. You bitch ass faggots aren't going to arrest the mom. This is how I talk to people. But see, if I was that dad, I would have went to city council meetings and exposed the police chief for that. I got too much going on in my life to do that. If you guys out there would at least half-ass do the stuff that I did, we would turn the whole system upside down. See, women are out there with all these feminist groups and the feminist movement, and feminists are everywhere. Feminists infiltrated the legislature, the judges, they're social workers, they're the guardian ad litems, infiltrating everywhere. And some of you dumbass mother effers are, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna sue the judge, and I'm gonna claim unconstitutionality, and I'm gonna argue jurisdiction. And you want to overthrow the entire system by yourself, bitch? And you won't fight for your own kid within the parameters of your own case? You got these thoughts of grandeur of being the Martin Luther King of the father's rights movement all by yourself, and groups after groups have not scratched a dent in it for 60 years. Get over yourself, bitch. Go fight and get your kid and then be part of this. But then when you do that, like 99.99% of dads, you don't want anything to do with family court again because it's too exhausting. This is what happens. This is why nothing changes. But the women, they get their kids and they want vengeance on a man, and they want to rule over a man. It's the curse of Eve. We just stop. I have so many guys, oh, I'm going to help you. I'm going to protest. I'm going to be with you. I'll complain again. There's a guy, my baby's mom's attorney. I did a video on him. My baby's mom's attorney. He served me paperwork from another case. I called that dad up. I said, hey, do you know I got paperwork from your case? That mother effer. And he's like, he won't quit the case. I'm like, just write him a letter firing him. And then he wouldn't do that, bitch. He goes, when I'm done with my case, I'm going to file a bar complaint against him. Because eventually, my baby's mom's attorney had this guy named Dale Shaw. Dale wanted him to quit so he can have another attorney, because my baby's mom's attorney takes a vacation in his timeshare in Arizona for 3 months in the winter. And he was ignoring his calls. I said, hey, he's working on my case. He's like, that mother effer. I said, you should file a bar complaint again. I will. And then I reached out to him after he finally fired her. The attorney went into court, lost the hearing on purpose, and said, here's my bill. Now I'm done. That bitch didn't do anything. You guys ain't going to do shit. Go fight for your kids. Do that shit. This guy said, I'm so tired of Ryan the tough dad. All he does is complain. He actually came on my TikTok, and I redid the video that I posted recently on YouTube. I redid on I did it on TikTok originally. I said, I think this dad doesn't like me, because I came on his page and said, stop whining and crying and do something. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers because everybody wants to whine, cry, piss, and moan. I can't compete with the fake, phony bitches who want to be fake, phony bitches. I can't be fake, and I can't just sit around and piss and moan. I don't got time for that. Now, I'll gripe a little bit here and there, but I want solutions and answers. I want people to have hope and people do stuff. But people don't want to do that because it takes energy and they have to fight and all this stuff. So, Ryan the tough dad, I mean, he looks like a good dad. I see him doing videos with his daughter or whatever, and they're doing stuff together. Seems like a great dad. I just did a video saying how, I think, 99% of you are great dads probably. But the inner bitch problem takes over. So anyway, I did a video. That video I did, I said, I think he has a problem with me. And he got in the comments, he goes, dude, I appreciate you, but some dads don't have time to fight. And that's where I did another video where I said, there was a comment, some dads don't have time. That was Ryan the tough dad. And then somebody else reached out to me and said, Ryan the tough dad is a bitch. All he does is whine, and he talks all this arrogant shit. And if you look at his page, it says he was a member of the Father's Rights Movement. So I don't know if he's a leader in that or not. I don't know how he makes money off of that stuff. I think he sells merch or something. but he definitely doesn't have any solutions because he gets on there and whines and cries like every dad. And every time I have a video, see, you guys cannot make an excuse. When I say something, it's true and it's fact, and I'm going off of actual experience and what actually worked. And if you hate it, it's because you're a bitch and you don't want to do it. Now, if you go and try everything and you still lose and you're exhausted, that's understandable. But try everything. And when you're done, stand there and endure to the end. These guys, dads that commit suicide, cowards. F them. Because you're leaving your kids fatherless. That's selfish. Even though you're going through pain and you're in a dark place. I went through a dark place in my case a lot. I've been through a dark place in one relationship where I really, really cared about this chick who put up a good damsel in distress fake facade. Because I cared about her as a friend for 10 years. And then we got together. I really, really cared about her. And then it turned out to be, I got totally played. It was a game. She probably didn't even like me as a friend. She just looked at me as a mark to use up and spit out. Lesson learned. My first and last time I've ever played Captain Save-A-Ho. It's one of the worst things. And I've seen guys get played, used, and stuff like that. I've probably seen, out of 25,000 cases, I probably can think of about 2 cases off the top of my head that were worse. Like one of the moms put a hit on the dad. So this chick didn't do that, even though she wanted to send people for me. So that was a dark place, not just because, obviously I was hurt from the relationship because I thought she was somebody different. And if you get played by somebody, if you know who they are and kind of know, dang, they just were done with me, it's one thing. But if they were manipulating you and then they shit on you afterward, and then they, the whole thing was a facade and they never even liked you, and they're a totally different person, it's like, somebody living a double life, like who was I even with or whatever. That effed with my head for a while. And then the audacity she had to talk shit when she was a total loser. And then after I got a protection order against her, she tried to get 4 against me and drag me in and out of court. And if a man did that to a woman, he'd get sanctioned up the yin yang for abusing the system. And then it was just the fact that she has a GED and she's a dumbass airhead. I got played by a dumbass airhead who has one skill in life, how to play, use, and manipulate men. So I've been through dark times you guys have been through. And some of the dark times you just have to endure it. And only time can heal the wounds. Only getting in God's presence or having some divine intervention can heal you faster than the time that allows wounds to heal. You just have to deal with it. It's life. It's the life of a warrior. It's the life of a man. But you could, like, the 2 women that screwed me, this crazy psychotic chick who turns out to be a child abusing whore, who gets beat up by her boyfriend and has her daughter getting molested by her current boyfriend. And I actually tried to reach out to some people, even that baby's dad. Here's a great example of what's enraging about my gender. So this chick I dated, she was married young, right out of high school, and had a couple teenage daughters. And she had a youngest daughter that was 5 years old. The teenage daughters ran away because they got sick and tired of her. I actually believed her that the dad had coached them and all this other stuff. But it turned out she was violent toward them. She was verbally abusive toward them. She put up a good show around me. She showed signs enough of it where I should have cut out of there and got away. And there were signs and I didn't want to believe them, like a dumbass. You see, I can call myself a dumbass for being a dumbass. There's no shame in making a mistake and being a dummy. You just learn from it and move on. I will never, ever, ever even come close to getting suckered to being played, into playing Captain Save-A-Ho. That will never, ever happen. But her and my baby's mom, they're the 2 people who played me. My baby's mom, small little red flags that I should have known better. And then I had a kid out of wedlock. I'm messing with her when we're not even really together. All the stuff that, if you don't do it God's way, you don't believe in God, you don't do it nature's way, it will get out of whack and it's chaos. You mess around with the queen and you're a king, you're supposed to carry yourself like a king. You don't carry yourself like a king. You get the results of committing a crime or a treason, like, a king getting out of his lane or doing the wrong thing or whatever. and women are just totally out of whack when it comes to trying to lead a family or doing stuff logically. And if you mess around with the wrong person, the control women can have over a guy is sex, seduction, or stroking their ego and having them bamboozled and thinking, okay, this is a safe place for me, this relationship with this woman, she really respects me. Or the ultimate is having a kid or marriage. So you don't engage in those things in the wrong way or the wrong time with the wrong people, then you save yourself from all this stuff. But we're so quick, like what I was talking about earlier. When guys go out, you have baby mama drama. Like the guys that call me that got a new wife. Now it's one thing if your divorce is over and you moved on and you got a new wife. But some of you guys in the middle of not getting your shit together on your first kids, you get in a relationship with somebody else. Slow the F down on that shit. Don't be a dumbass. You're just bringing in a rocky relationship. You're inviting a rocky relationship. Get it stable with your first set of kids. Get that finalized. Get that over with. There's so many second wives that are suffering because they got to deal with you and your bullshit, your crazy baby's mom, and they're just trying to have a relationship with you. And some of you guys, you got a great supportive second wife, and she's going through hell and sacrificing her life. There's a lady in Divorce Corp, the movie. Every single one of you should watch the movie Divorce Corp, or at least the 2-minute trailers. I have a link to one of them in my flow page that everybody needs. If you're being falsely accused of abuse, you got to see the 2-minute trailer Divorce Corp. Type in Divorce Corp, C-O-R-P, on YouTube, and there's a bunch of 2-minute trailers. You got 2 minutes, don't you? Watch the false abuse claims one and quote those people when you're defending yourself. I got a whole packet defending yourself against restraining orders where I quote them and about 20 other people, and I have articles and stuff like that showing how women lie all the time. And more often than not, they lie more than they tell the truth. And if you go in and tell the court what their own peers, judges and attorneys and investigators and Harvard law professors say, they'll believe you more. But most of you don't even want to even look into my stuff because you just want to sit there, whine, cry, piss and moan. I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, so the two women that played me, my baby's mom, she had control over me with my child until I got custody. I got on the offensive and smashed that and took over that. And then the other people came to court. See, when I was talking about, I talk about this is for the long haul. You got to endure hardness like a good soldier and tough it out. You don't go off to war thinking it's going to be over with in a minute unless we're bombing Hiroshima with an atomic bomb. You don't go into war thinking it's going to be over the first night. You go in there knowing it's going to be long and dry, and you get sick of it. And that's when you decide to fight more, and you strategize better or whatever. When I went in there for the first month of my custody battle, my baby's mom, her friends, this chick that I dated, my baby's mom's name is Sedaris Wright. Maybe I should describe Sedaris Wright. Sederis Wright with a W. She's the only person in the world with that name. If you Google it, you can probably find her LinkedIn or whatever. She's black. One of her roommates was this white girl named Mary Evans, Mary Soulshide Evans. She works at Washington State Employees Credit Union now. She's some executive mortgage banker or whatever. She knew that I had a bank account at her bank because I walked into her branch one time. I didn't even know she worked there. And she saw me and she started rummaging through my account and disclosed that in court, and I made a complaint about her. My baby's mom, the black lady, hated Mary, the white lady, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, because I liked Mary for a long time. We all went to the same church. I liked her for a long time, and then she wasn't interested, and then I started dating Sid. And then a little while after that, Mary was interested in me because I was dating Sid. So then when Sid was done with me, I respected that. She walked away. Mary was interested, so I started dating Mary. I only did it for like a week or a couple weeks or something. Then Sid wanted to kill her. Guess who Sid's number one witness was when we went to court? Mary, the white girl, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl that she called a slut, whore, bimbo, airhead. And the mom actually turned around, Sid actually turned around in court and looked at me. I was sitting in the back of the room, our first restraining order hearing that I described earlier. And she turns around and looks at me like, look who I got here. When Mary came walking into court. And then she comes in and said, James is stalking me at my job. And he had an account there around the same time I started working. I had no clue about that chick. And so I've actually protested that credit union. And then so I complained to the credit union that she's rummaged through my account, and then she tried to get a restraining order against me. And then I protested her bank and exposed her and was handing out flyers and letting everybody know who she was and who the WSECU was. And then I sued her and her new boyfriend, an ex-roommate of mine, who said that James is a bipolar, blah, blah. He should never be around a kid. Punk-ass bitch. His name is Kimo Evans, Kimoevans. He's a graphics designer in Tacoma, Washington. It's funny because him and his wife keep moving or living in the town that I live in. Supposedly they want to stay away from me, but they keep living where I live. Anyway, sued them in small claims court, and I'm talking about the long haul. So all these people were attacking me. My baby's mom tried to get a restraining order. Then we're going to family court. All her friends and family are hemming and hawing and slandering me and talking crazy about me. I'm surrounded by a bunch of wolves. For a month or two, and there's no end in sight. And I'm in it for the long haul because all I care about is my daughter. I chose to decide these people are trifling and crazy. And I was doing stuff like talking to my friends, like, I can't believe the court system, blah, 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 blah. One of my friends made fun of me. He's like, hey, this is my buddy James. Hey, my name is James. How you doing? Do you know how bad the court system is? And blah, blah, blah. Because I was just diarrhea of the mouth at that. You don't even know it. You don't have any self-awareness because you're so traumatized by it. So I've been there. So I tell you guys, wake up, bitch. Let's go fight. As soon as I knew what to do and how to fight, I was in there fighting. And then my friends were cheering for me when I got found in contempt. They're like, yay, thank God my declaration helped you and all this other stuff. They were happy for me. But you have to go in this. This is the nature of it. Stop pretending it's going to be flowery or sugary. This is hell. You're a stupid mother effer for having a kid with a crazy woman. Only about 10% of you got bamboozled by a good woman who turned around and started getting into voodoo and demonic stuff, or they had postpartum depression and they had a mental breakdown or whatever. 90% of you saw the red flags and you had that baby, you had a kid with that baby mama anyway. And all you dumbass mother effers with 3 different babies, moms that keeps going, oh, I'm a good dad, I'm around. If you're not living with if you can't make a kid and live with them, then you're destroying that kid because they need to live with the father. So F you too. Stop justifying shit. You had a kid with a crazy woman just like I did. I was a stupid mother effer for having a kid with her. I never even wanted kids. I was going to live the rest of my life without kids because I knew that I just saw Joe Rogan talk about it. Your whole life changes when you have a kid because that's an entire life you're responsible. It's not a car. It's not a dog. It's not a tool chest. It's a human being you're responsible for, and everything looks more dangerous. I was like, this is a heavyweight responsibility. I don't need that. But I had a kid with her, and I think she did it to try and trap me because, you know, eventually when I got custody, she didn't want to have visitation anymore. So you got to call a spade a spade. You went out in shark infested waters with all these psychotic hoes and you picked one of these dangerous sharks to go swimming with, literally. And now you're surprised you're getting bitten by a wild shark that you had a kid with? You're out of your effing mind. Now you have a kid that you're responsible for. Now you need to go rescue the kid no matter how long it hurts, how long it takes, whoever persecutes you for it. You can't be a bitch. You're either going to be a warrior or a bitch. There's all this in between is a losing battle. You lose being a bitch. You lose being a bitch with warrior tendencies. You lose being half a bitch and half a warrior. You lose if you half-ass it. If you go all out as a warrior, you give yourself the best chance to get something fair. And if you fight the right way in the beginning, you give yourself about an 80-90% chance that you're going to end up with something fair or reasonable in the end if you fight the right way. The problem is the vast majority of people get a hold of me when they're behind the 8 ball. And then they listen to an attorney and lost, and then paid them a $10,000 retainer and then lost, and $10,000 retainer and lost, and numbnuts, retarded, dumbed down, airheaded mother effer. What are you doing paying for a service that doesn't work? You could have lost for free. You haven't figured that shit out yet? I had a guy who went through 3 attorneys. He was about to have trial. I said, well, it's time to get ready for trial. He goes, no, I really need an attorney this time. I can't afford to get it wrong this time. Like, you stupid mother effer, you've gotten it wrong, and these attorneys prove to you that you don't need an attorney. Why don't you hunker down and I can't afford it. I don't know the law. You stupid mother effer. Did you know how to drive before you learned how to drive? Did you know how to ride a bike before you learned how to ride a bike? Did you know how to do math before you went to school to learn how to do math? Everything is a pussy-ass, bitch, faggoty, simp, thong-wearing bitch excuse. go to war over your kids. The only person who can rescue your kids is you. Do you think a judge who doesn't know you is going to rescue your kids? Do you think that judge collects his money, wants to go on vacation, is thinking about his next trip to Jamaica or whatever, or the Caribbean or whatever? They're not going to bend over backwards for you. You have to seize the day. You have to fight for justice. The guardian ad litem, the hairy-legged, radical feminist lesbian who got molested by her dad isn't going to help you. The opposing attorney isn't going to help you. Your own attorney doesn't give a shit about you. They only care about the money. Who's going to rescue your kids? Does anybody love your kids more than you? You dumb mother effer. Use some deductive reasoning and do the math and say, I'm the only one who can rescue my kids. If you have your kid kidnapped by somebody, if you saw the movie with Mel Gibson, Ransom, his kid was kidnapped and he was a millionaire and they wanted $1 million or something like that. And he got on the news and he said, here's $1 million right here. But I know if I give it to you, my kid won't come back alive. So what I'm doing is I'm giving $1 million reward who brings back my child's kidnapper dead or alive. Congratulations. You just became the most wanted knucklehead in America. And everybody thought he was nuts, but he knew his kid's life was at risk. And then in the end, the kidnapper actually pretended to be someone who saved the kid, and then he ended up getting busted in the end. But I've never seen a movie where they flipped it around like that. Maybe there's something similar, but that was an awesome like twist of the plot there. And he realized nobody's coming to save my kid. Nobody can get my kid back. I have to do something as the father of that kid. And if you don't think that you have to do something and it's a lonely road, and if you want everybody to give a shit and hug you and stuff, get the F off this, quit. Go surrender and quit now and save yourself all the stress of you going through, I wish it was easier, and fathers are people too, and why don't they do this, and why don't they like me, and why don't they think, why are these radical feminists, and why? Go rescue your kid, mother effer. Damn, I got to say it 20 different ways. And I still get hundreds or thousands of guys whining, crying, complaining. You know, my most popular video, go look at my most popular video, the number one argument 50-50. Look at all the people who just whine, cry, and talk about how bad the system is. The compliments I get are here and there. This sounds great. Whine, cry, piss, and moan. 90% of people. Not everybody wants to be saved. Not everybody wants to save their kids. Because the only answer, and I do this with mothers. I tell mothers who are dealing with a narcissistic ex, you got to grow up. It's time to grow up, and you got to fight. You got to do this. But I can't, this and that. And it's a little different for women, because a lot of women getting screwed were nice, traditional women who wanted just to be housemakers or mothers. And I know a lady, she's totally sweet. She's totally adorable and lovable. And I could tell, that anybody that knows her would like her. And she was a target for a narcissistic, control freak bitch of a faggoty homo ex-husband who just used the child against her. So, but the only chance for her to rescue her kid from that crazy dude and his control over her is for her to fight this time around in court. But for the most part, 90% of the time, it's the dads getting screwed. So you dads that are getting screwed, nobody cares about you. Let me tell you again. And I had to deal with this reality too. And it was because what I was going through, nobody could fix my mistake of fornicating and having a kid with a woman out of wedlock and having a kid with a crazy woman with two fat, ugly, crazy sisters, Yvonne Charisse Wright and Barbara Rydell Wright, who live in Seattle, Washington. Big, fat, ugly sisters who can't get a man. Well, my baby's mom is curvy, feminine, and pretty. Now she's a little, she's getting old, fat, and ugly like me. But back then, curvy, feminine, pretty. And at age 12, she developed fast. She had 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds jocking her thinking she was 19 or 20. So they had to watch. It was like Cinderella's wicked stepson, and her nickname is Sid, S-Y-D. So I call it Cinderella and the wicked half-sisters, because the fat, ugly sisters have a different dad. And they're all taught to be strong and independent. When somebody makes you mad, cut them off. And I had little spats with them the 10 years that I knew them, and we went to the same church, same social circle. They'd get mad at me and stop talking to me. I'm like, okay, so this weird, crazy shit. But I had to realize nobody cares. And I'd talk to people and I wouldn't feel better afterward. It'd feel good for a second to vent. I'm like, nothing is changing. The only solution that will help all the problems, your child's need for a father, your need for closure, your need to be involved, your ego being crushed and you being humiliated, emasculated, and treated like a slave. All of the answers to all these problems is for you to go get full custody or 50-50, you mother effing stupid ass bitch. So go do it. Then nothing else helps. You talking to your friends, you whining and crying. You go into a father's rights movement meeting and scissoring with other faggoty dads who are whining, crying, and bitching and not doing shit. This is my gender right. No, you are the answer. If you want answers, come on board. Come on board the winning train, because the train is moving, and I'm looking from town to town for dads who actually give a shit. And all you guys who want to stand by while the train's moving, you want to stand there. Dads are people too. Dads need rights. Why do they do this to me? My kid. I went to court and I lost. Here's the train moving along. Here's all the winning stuff. And then sometimes I learn stuff from my own clients. And I'll turn that around and help somebody. I'll refer people to other advocates in certain areas that might have helped somebody. There's a guy in New Jersey I refer people to. Sometimes I'll tell people to check out that Father X. I don't know too much about him. I disagree with him on some bitch stuff where he was sitting there saying, oh, the Washington, D.C. march for an amendment to the Constitution. We got to do something. You mother effing dumbass. It's not going to do shit. But we got to try. Okay, that's what all you mother effers tell me every single year when I tell you it's not working. Why don't you go get all that time and energy spent going to Washington, D.C. and planning a trip? Why don't you plan your next motion in court? Anyway. But the Father X, he says a bunch of true stuff. So go check out. See, I'm not opposed to anybody individually per se. The dad talk today, faggot ass bitch. That guy, I reached out to him. I said, hey, look, all you do is tell negative stories. Why don't you got such a reach. Why don't you use testimonies from guys who won? Block. He blocks me. He doesn't even want to hear the possibility that he could post videos of testimonies of guys winning. And I wasn't even talking about me. I was just talking in general, but I would have been a great candidate if he decided to do that. The 50-50 dad, that punk-ass little faggoty bitch, he steals videos from everybody else, like what I just did. I just posted a video about a dad getting shot in exchange. So I do that once in a while. Him and Fathers Are Important and guys like that, they just post video after video that they stole from somebody else as somebody else's work product, and they post it, and they get popular posting all these sad sob stories. I reached out to 50-50 dad, and they're all just like, if you guys know this Carl Lewis twin looking dude, this bald black dude with a big pretty white smile in Atlanta. The something lawyer. He's a family law attorney. He gets on there and does lives for like 3 or 4 hours. He's a pretty boy. And he talks about how he talks about how women keep getting custody and all this sort of stuff. He said, I represented so many shitty mothers who got custody, they can get away with murder. You mother effer, you just told on yourself. You represent women who got custody and they're shitty mothers. Why don't you use that opportunity to negotiate with the dad for 50-50? Oh, I have to do what my client said, you stupid ass bitch. Gosh, what's his name? The something lawyer. I don't know his real name, but it's like there's all these cults out there, and there's one, I'm sitting here spitting the truth, and everybody's following all the cults because they look good and sound good and feel good, because that's like getting a fad diet. Or I want to do the fad diet, and I'm a trainer here, and I'm saying I lost 100 pounds. I ate only fruits and vegetables and lean meat and kept it to 200 calories or 1,500 calories a day for 4 months, and now I'm ripped. It was hard. I had to be disciplined. And everybody's like, no, I want to follow this fad diet. It's faster, quicker, and easier. And that stuff doesn't last. You come back to where you were before. I tell you guys the truth. Go fight the war like warriors fight wars right now and endure to the end. No, that's too hard. That sounds unrealistic. F you, James. I got to work. Okay, bitch. So your job's more important. Shut the F up with your crying and moaning. And the reason I can say that, as soon as I saw a light glimmer of hope with Dads Against Discrimination, and I heard Bob Carl's talk at a free monthly dads meeting in Seattle. Dude, how do I get a hold of you? How do I do it? Oh, you can do a consult with me, blah, blah, this much an hour. And I've had as many meetings with him as I could. And he lived in a trailer on a lot with a little hut that was it had a living room, a bathroom, a small kitchen, and a bedroom. And it was about, I don't know, it couldn't have been much bigger than a studio apartment. It's a little beat up shack on land that somebody had abandoned or sublet to him or something like that. And he's sitting there giving answers and stuff, living almost like a homeless person. And that's where Dads of Discrimination descended to. They used to have an office in downtown Seattle. Then it was just him because all the other guys got burnt out. That's how it goes. Because my freaking gender's a bunch of faggot-ass pussies. There's a few, just like David Goggins said. He quotes somebody else. I don't know who's the original quote. In a war, out of 100 guys, 10% of them shouldn't even be there. 80% of them are targets. What was that? 80, 90, yeah. 9% are the real fighters, and 1% of them is a real warrior. He said, I'm a fighter trying to become that warrior. This isn't a brag. This is it. I'm a 5-star general in the war on fathers because I've worked at the courthouse. I worked as a paralegal. I've been working at law firms. I represented myself. I tried it with an attorney. I've seen it from every angle. Worked at the courthouse. I was with the other parent, a non-custodial parent rights group. That's where I met the Brazilian lady I mentioned who got screwed in her case. Non-custodial rights group. Dads Against Discrimination. I used to answer the phones for them. And then the headquarters in Portland, they stopped loading the website or supporting the website. And all the chat go. If you look at, I think the website just died now. I tried to get on it, wasn't there. dadsamerica.org. The Fathers' Rights group that was in Las Vegas, I forget the name of it, but they had a whole office with a staff of like 10 to 15 people a day helping pro ses one-on-one. Those mother effing sellout bitches sold it to an attorney, and that attorney was supposed to keep the Fathers' Rights legacy going, and he didn't, of course. Mother freaking punk ass sellout house slave bitches. That's everybody, almost. It's insane. You would think someone would go, dang, James, you won this, and there'd be a consensus. How do you do that? Okay, we gotta learn how to, and we gotta spread the word to dads, so before they even get started, they're ready to go, and they give themselves 90% chance to get something fair. Nope. Bitch-ass mother effers, they go through their divorce, and they get help from me, then they disappear off the face of the earth. A few guys stick around or want to do something in their area. They do it for a couple of years and they fizzle out. There's a guy I had an appointment with one time. He had no clue what he was doing. He's lost. He was a little bit off as far as not having, all the logic in the world or deductive reasoning and common sense. I went to the courthouse and looked at the billboard in the library. He put up a card after meeting with him one time. Father's rights advocate, call me for help and blah, blah. Guy didn't know shit about anything, and he's already advertising as an advocate. And I know that didn't last because I never saw anything more after that, but you'd think he would, if he really wanted to do that, he would have tried to get mentored. And I'm all for mentoring people. I want people to do better than me, like I said, just like any dad with their kids, that you want them to do better. I'm sitting here trying to leave a legacy of stuff, and again, I'm on my own. I tell you guys, you're on your own. I'm on my own as an advocate. I have people who hit me up. Hey, let's collaborate. Let's do this. Let's do that. So come on my page and do this for me and do that for me and do that for me and do this. No, bitch. At least have some of your shit going. I had a guy, he called me. He wanted me to get on his podcast. And he kept changing the date. And he was a no-show one time. He's like, I want to do this. I said, dude, I don't got time for all this. He goes, well, I was going to promote your stuff. He got like 40 followers. He wanted me to blow up his stuff. Then the guy for Fathers Are Important, that mother effer, he had me getting up at like 7 or 8 in the morning when I pulled a late nighter. I was supposed to be on his IG Live to interview. He was a no-show. And then he reached out to me and asked me a question like a month later. I said, dude, I'm not answering you, man. You wasted my time and wanted me on your podcast. And that's when he had like 10,000 followers on Instagram. Now he's got 200,000 because what does he do? copy, cut, and paste, steals other people's videos, other people's memes, and posts them, and that's all his content. No answers, no solutions, whine, cry, piss, and moan, and stolen content. And he's got like a couple 100,000 followers. That's how it works. Bunch of charlatan, faggot-ass, fake, phony bitches. But the main theme right now here is there's nobody here to help you except me and maybe a couple other people that I could refer you to if you need more specific help in your area. If these people, here's a good one right here. Fathers' lives matter. That guy's in Montana. He got full custody without an attorney. He didn't even ask the mom for child support. He didn't even want it. That guy had me on his IG live one time with another guy, and the other guy was a friend of his, and he took over the conversation because all he wanted to do was talk about his case. And now that guy has like, I think he has 500,000 followers or 300,000 or something. Now he does a lot of that copying and pasting, telling stories, but he's actually helping guys one-on-one. So I'm not knocking him, and he's a legit real one. So that guy in Montana, fathers' lives matter. That dude's about the closest thing I know to me out there. And who's to say he might know more than me about a whole bunch of stuff, but he's not. It doesn't look like it's his full-time focus to help dads because he's trying to create awareness and spread the word and stuff. Creating awareness ain't going to do shit. Everybody's already aware dads get screwed. What's anybody doing about it? Nothing. So until the entire cult, I have a video. Go watch the video on what's going to change stuff. You got to vote judges out. Nobody's going to do that because it's set up. Governors appoint their butt buddies to positions in off years. They tell, hey, retire before the voting year next year. Okay. Or retire by January. We want, and then the governor appoints somebody. And then when they run for re-election, nobody runs against them because that's what you don't run against sitting judges. Actually, my baby's mom's first attorney ran against the judge that did his divorce and he got his ass kicked. That's kind of funny. Mark B. Livas was the first attorney. But this is a lonely road. You did the dumbass, most stupidest thing you could do in life and had kids. You did the dumbest thing you could do like I did and had a kid with a crazy bitch out of God's order and God's design. And when you do that, you have chaos. If you use something out of his design that the maker made it for, you will have chaos. If you put diesel in a gas car, you will have chaos within that vehicle. If you drive down the oncoming lane, you will have chaos. There's an order to everything. If you defy the order of gravity and step off a building, you will die. If you have kids with a crazy bitch, it will be chaos because women can't lead a family and crazy bitches want to take over and they'll use the crazy bitch court system to help them. And you're in a system that you chose with your stupid ass decisions, just like me. See, I can be honest about this stuff. This is the most real shit you're going to get because I'm not going to be Judge Anthony, fake ass bitch, little solid gold dancer faggot trying to entertain people. This isn't entertainment to me. This is a war on men and children and child trafficking that's done openly on the market and nobody's doing anything about it. And everybody wants to talk about, let's do something about it, and nobody's doing shit. Except me and probably the father's life matter guy teaching people how to do this stuff the right way. So, wake the hell up. I guess I'm rambling about what you need to wake up the hell up to. Nobody gives a shit about you. I will give a shit when we're sitting down and doing a consult. Sometimes people follow up or they want to have dinner with me if they're local and they want to hang out and become friends. Dude, I'm not going to force no friendship, okay? I've had organic friendships that came out of this stuff because of people I worked with. And then we were doing stuff together, protesting together. Every once in a while, one or two dads does that with me, and then they don't want to ever do it again. But look, man, I can't be your best buddy, friend, lover, and whatever. We're going to war. I'm teaching you how to go to war. I got a job to train people how to go to war. You go to war, you have a platoon commander or whatever, and he tells the platoon to go down here because it's going to get ambushed over here and to save your life. And then he saved your life. He's doing his job. When you get back home, you don't go live with him because he's your buddy because he saved your life. He did his job. So I'm doing my job in the moment in time. I'll care when we talk, and I'll be happy for you when you win. A lot of people, I'll follow up with you. I'll give you an update. Dude, I don't got time for updates. I don't got time for shit. I have paid consultations, and outside of that, I'm dealing with an elderly mother. I have a sister with Down syndrome I'm co-guardian of. I have a daughter who still depends on me. I have a woman in my life I'm actually taken care of to a point and looking out for. I don't need to get into the details of that stuff, but I got people depending on me all day long. That's why I don't piss and bitch and moan about the situation I have. And even if I did early in my custody battle, I did something about it. If you lay down and you curl up in a ball in a fetal position and then curl up in a corner and whine, cry, piss and moan of the situation you're in, you will make it worse because you're making it worse. The best therapy is for you to get on the offensive in your court case. Do contempt, do a deposition, do discovery, do a reconsideration. You lose in front of a magistrate, appeal to a judge. You lose in front of a commissioner, do a motion for revision. I got packets of that stuff in my store. You lose a restraining order, or you have a restraining order coming, temporary restraining order, get on the offensive, do a motion to quash, then fight it. You lose it, do reconsideration and revision. Do a deposition on the mother and destroy her credibility. Get on the offensive. Those are just a few things, and all of them you've never even attempted to do. And you come on my page, why did this, that, and that, and this is my loser story. You dumbass mother effer, you're telling on yourself. I'm a pussy-ass bitch who tries something once and then quits. I'm telling you, I got answers to help you better your life. You know, and I don't get shit for this stuff. There's guys who say, thank you very much, I got full custody and this and that. I never hear from them again. I don't expect to. They won, they got their kid back, they want to move on with their life. But what I don't like is all these people talking shit about, we need to band together and do this. That's not reality, dude. The only thing that's going to fix anything is if every individual dad gets on the offensive and goes to work. First of all, if dads stop having kids with these psychotic, mentally ill hoes or dating these hoes, like I had a kid with a crazy bitch, high-functioning narcissist. And then I dated a super psycho crazy bitch because I thought all of her dysfunction was a result of her getting the wrong end of the stick and all this other stuff. And she's a manipulative, psychotic, Jezebel, demonic, dark triad narcissist. And I'm a stupid, dumbass mother. That's the one person. My baby's mom, no big deal. This chick, that's the one human being I wish I never met in my life. And let me tell you this. So this chick I dated, I told you she had a 5-year-old. She has 2 teenage daughters from her marriage right out of high school. So she's like 35, 36. So she's a lot younger than me. I wasn't looking for anything. I was helping out a friend when she was going through some stuff and had to do a modification. And then we hung out a lot and then we started dating. She seized the moment, all that stuff, you know, what do they call it? Love bombing or whatever. I found out that her previous boyfriend, when I found out she's sleeping with 3 different guys a week, I find out that she's starting to talk to her previous boyfriend again. I'm done when I find that out. And then I find out she's back to her previous boyfriend full time, who has a felony for beating up a chick, has 3 restraining orders from different chicks. And she told me that guy might have molested her daughter. And he actually beat her up a couple times and her kids called the cops. She didn't even call the cops herself. And she wouldn't testify against him. So that's what she really wants. These women want these abusive relationships because that's what they like and love. And she said she was molested when she was younger. I'm starting to think it was her dad doing it because her dad hangs around and looks out for her. In any case, all those crazy signs, all this stuff. So she has a 5-year-old, and I'm really worried about the 5-year-old. I was starting to grow fond of that kid. I felt bad for her because, you know, I'm like, this chick's dysfunctional. The dad's not around. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go looking for the dad. I find the dad, and he has a great relationship with his other kids. I'm like, wait a minute, this bitch was lying about him. I reach out to him. I said, do you know that your kid is back around that boyfriend who beat up? He goes, do you know where he lives? I want to kill him. I said, dude, don't go kill her boyfriend. Go rescue your kid and get custody of your kid. You have the best case for custody because I know in her divorce, she was found to have abused the kids. I thought she got railroaded on that because that's happened before. And she had a physical injury that came from the dad's new wife. But it turned out she was setting stuff off and starting shit. Just like the video I did about the dad who got killed. He was starting shit and he effed around and found out. This chick was starting shit, and then she got punched and dropped and shattered her arm and has pins and screws in it and stuff like that. So I reach out to the baby's dad. He's like, yeah, that mother effer beat her up in front of my kid and traumatized my kid. I'm like, well, why don't you go get your kid? He goes, she won't let me see her unless I give her money or whatever. And she asked for sex a couple months ago. I was like, oh, that's great. That's when I was dating her also. So I tell you, I said, dude, I saw her the last day I hung out with her. She got physical with this 5-year-old. I said, I saw her abuse your kid. And she told me that boyfriend might have molested your kid. He's like, what? I'm going to kill that mother effer. He's like, do you know where he lives? And I said, no, dude. And I ended up finding out because we had to do court stuff for restraining order stuff. This dude, he's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to go for custody. Then he was scared to do it himself. I'm going to save up and get a lawyer. Then I checked with him. I said, here's some new news. I'm dealing with this stuff. I got a restraining order against her. So now she has a restraining order. I saw her abuse the kid. The last day I hung out with her, she's screwing around, basically being a prostitute. Like she was cheating on me she was screwing some 19-year-old carpet cleaner of hers. She was only a couple years older than her oldest daughter. And she's like 35, 36. So he's fresh out of high school almost. But I think he paid her like $500 to screw with her. So anyway. And all of her family cut her off. Her sisters, her brother, her cousins, they all think she's nuts and crazy. And I guess she's in some circles, she's known as the, one of the more efficient town hoes or whatever. This dad, he said he wanted custody and stuff like that. And I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything to get revenge on her. I was worried about the 5-year-old. Because that chick, let me tell you this, that chick, her teenage daughter, her oldest teenager, called me one time and said, James, my mom's passed out on the floor. Because she used to drink and mix her drinks with pills. I used to think she had a sweetener to her drinks. And I don't drink, but, I tolerated casual drinking. But she passed out. And she probably mixed pills with that. And she was worried about her mom. So the teenage daughter didn't call her grandpa, who lived on the street next to their apartment in his trailer. Didn't call her own dad. She calls me. And so now that teenager isn't there to look out for the 5-year-old, because when she would go out hauling, she would leave the 5-year-old with the teenage daughter. Both teenage daughters ran away to their dad. They don't want anything to do with her the last time I checked. So I tell all this to this baby's dad. This guy has I swear to you guys, this guy has the easiest case for full custody I've ever seen. And I'm a witness to stuff, and I can actually, and I know it's Washington State. I know it like the back of my hand. I could easily help him get full custody. And the mother would probably, this chick would probably default, and he would have had his kid. And then I told him about one other thing I heard about. And, oh yeah, there are people passing this picture around of her that people saw on Snapchat where she's got a picture of her and her daughter's wearing a t-shirt and panties with her legs open with makeup. And Snapchat is where she finds all her Johns. And I said, dude, this is what's going around, and people are passing this around. He's like, what the hell is wrong with her? He goes, and then she posted some post saying, nobody's here to help me. Woe is me. Where's my help? I'm so much pain no matter how many pills I take. Where's my help? And, sometimes I feel like killing myself. It wasn't for the 5-year-old. And then he goes, you know what? If I tried to get custody of my daughter, she probably would kill herself. Plus, I got a new girlfriend, and sometimes she pops up. I can't have that. So this mother effer didn't give a shit about his daughter. This is the shit I see all the time. This is probably the easiest case for full custody and the most punk ass bitch move I've ever seen. And this guy, he's like 6'6", 225 pounds with meaty fists, and he could probably beat up any dude. Most dudes that he'd run up on, he could probably beat the snot out of them. And he was a bitch at heart for his daughter. I don't give a shit if you're Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali. If you don't want to fight for your kids when you have a chance to, you're a bitch. The end. So don't come on my page arguing why you lost, or like the tough dad, like this one guy said, sick and tired of the tough dad. What did you say on here? Oh, dang, I got a bunch of comments while I was rambling on. I'm so tired of Ryan the tough dad. Yeah. Well, guys don't have time. Blah, blah, blah. F you, bitch. I didn't have time. I worked 2 jobs. It's just, I went to work. I went home when I needed to work on my case. I worked on my case. When I needed to read the law or study the law or have an appointment with Bob Carls, I did it. Guys, there's guys who still stalk me on TikTok. I've had like 5 TikToks. They'll go on TikTok saying, you're a loser, you're a jerk. I called you up and you were eating food while I was talking to you. So I said, sorry if that was distracting. You could have said, hey, man, I hear a bunch of smacking in the background. Can you stop that? Sometimes if I'm eating, it's like I'll go all day and not eat. But maybe I was being unprofessional. I don't know. But then he texted me and asked me a question. I answered, and then he asked me, he goes, well, no, that's not going to work. And he basically wanted a full consultation. I said, dude, you need to get a consult. He goes, well, I paid for 2 consults. Well, just because you paid, if you go to the grocery store 3 days in a row, you don't get to say, hey, this is the 4th day. I should be able to walk out with stuff for free. Stupid ass welfare mentality, mother effing bitch. So that guy comes on TikTok and follows my TikTok and then talks shit about me on the TikTok. Another guy, my freaking gender. There's another guy who stalks me on TikTok. He said the only reason you got custody is because you were married to a black crackhead whore. So my baby's mom is a human resource manager who made 90 grand a year the last time I checked. So I said, now what? He goes, well, the only reason you got custody is because it was a black mom in Seattle. I'm like, you stupid mother effer. This is one of the most liberal states in the country. We bend over at backwards for people of color and immigrants of color. What's that group called? There's a group called, oh my God, what is it called? There's an advocacy group that helps immigrants with housing and mothers with restraining orders. That chick I dated, she actually got kicked out of her apartment, and she called them up and they helped her get right back in her apartment. She eventually got kicked out again. She tried to get a restraining order against her apartment manager for parking too close to her apartment, because they were trying to kick her out because she didn't pay her $250 a month in rent for her 3-bedroom, 2-bath, brand new apartment. She got $2,500 from welfare section. I didn't find this out until the end either. And she had $5,000 worth of damages in the apartment because her boyfriend beat her up a couple times and broke stuff. Stupid as. I'm a dumbass. And I was actually helping her on her case, and we were seeing each other, and I was believing all the bullshit lies. So I could see how attorneys get bamboozled by people. But if I'd have looked closer to it, the signs were there. And now that I look back, I saw more stuff right at the end, especially with her playing me and sleeping with 19-year-olds for $500 a pop. And then she was talking shit afterwards. She's like, we're from different worlds, James. Like, stop being butthurt. I know you're butthurt. I'm like, I'm not butthurt. I'm just like, who are you? What the hell happened? We're from different worlds. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that? Like, why are you faking it and dating me and stuff? I'm single. And talking shit about that 19-year-old, he knew how to tear it up and he knew how to work it, blah, blah, and you're just a, bitch and butthurt bitch and blah, 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 and you don't know how to handle a woman, and okay, whatever. So it all came out, and I broke up with her a couple times, and she played, stammer and lip, crying, oh, please, if you really love me, you do this and that. So, and when she tried to get one of her restraining orders, we were in front of a judge and she lost. They're like, did you date him or not? Because you're acting like you didn't date him and he wants you really bad. And I got all kinds of texts about, I love you, or if you love me, we would work this out and talk it out. And then she's telling the court we weren't dating and James is obsessed with me. And then she said, well, he's like, did you date him or not? She's like, well, he was a sugar daddy. And the judge goes, okay, well, let's move forward. But the baby's dad that didn't want to get custody of his daughter, and his daughter's probably being abused and stuff like that. And CPS didn't want to do anything, even though that kid's around, a violent felon. She actually had a restraining order against that dude and let him violate it because she didn't really want him in trouble. It's that her daughters snitched on him, beating her up in front of the kid. So that's, she leaves a dude like me and goes back to a mentally ill, low vibration bum of a felon who picked her up by the neck one time and beat her up in front of her kids and damaged the house doing it. And that's her go-to. What a dumbass I was. Pan Slayer says full custody. Did you get full custody? Oh, the lead attorney. How can I forget? The lead attorney was that pretty boy, Carl Lewis, wannabe lookalike twin. The lead attorney had a video on time. He's like, hey, you paralegals out there whining and crying about your wages and you work so hard. Now, paralegals do most of the work, just like nurses to doctors do a lot of the dirty work. Paralegals do a lot of the work. Sometimes the attorney's like, I did a video on David Contos in Kent, Washington. I knew a couple of his paralegals because I worked with them at a different law firm. They said he would walk in the office and say, what am I doing today? He wouldn't study the cases at all. The paralegals did all the work. So I did a video on David Contos. He slept with somebody at the courthouse and got kicked off the pro tem judge rotation. A decade later, everybody forgot about it. Now he's back on there. Cocaine addict, probably. Traded sex for services with one of his clients, made her a secretary. Everybody left because they couldn't deal with her. Got her a car, put her through college, and then she used him up, and then I think she moved on after that. Then she lost custody of her kid because I was helping the guy that was facing her. Anyway, David Contos. Damn it, what was I talking about? Oh, so the lead attorney, one time he's on there saying, these paralegals complaining, you make 80 grand a year, 20,000 in bonuses, that's 100,000, that's good money. And some of you paralegals aren't doing shit sometimes. Like I had paralegals going to get my Chick-fil-A and getting my dry cleaning. He's like, some of these paralegals are sucking my dick. Here's a video where he's bragging about that and thinks that's funny. The lead attorney. And then he gets on here talking about father's rights and dad's getting screwed. He has a video saying the only chance the dad has of getting custody is when the mom's a crackhead or she dies. Crackhead or dies. And then he's on stage with pearly things talking about some of these women, dads are getting screwed, shitty women can get custody. And the lady on stage says, no, she can't. They look at the law and the facts. He goes, I represented so many shitty mothers. So he's admitting he's helping them do this. He's a house slave sellout to fathers. Free Game says I beat child support several times. Cool. That's my expertise. That's a great scripture right there. Louis Literatus II. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. Lead the pack, brother. There's a scripture where David said, David's kind of a bipolar dude in the Psalms. He was a warrior. David and Goliath took Goliath out, but then he had a soft spot. And he had a soft spot for women who he sees through the window bathing and stuff. But he has a soft spot and a loving relationship with God. But there's a scripture he says, God teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight. So when Christian dudes come out, well, I don't want to fight, I don't want to honor the mother. Go to war, bitch. Your life with your kids is at stake. Just think about up until the 1900s or modern society, in the history of the world, there was probably no child who just blatantly and openly stood up to their dad or talked smack to their dad or to their mother in their dad's presence. Just thinking like ancient times in the Middle East. If you smarted off to your father, he would slap you upside the head and almost knock your head off or kill you for that. They didn't even dare to do that. Only in society nowadays do we have the audacity where kids will leave the house in the car their parent pays for and says, F you, dad, or F you, mom, or cries in the aisle at the store, I want my favorite cereal. We got it so backwards. The man is in charge of the family. We're the leader and the protector. The woman's a helpmate and the weaker vessel. And we got the women in charge of everything. And then they go and steal from us and steal our kingdom. And then we act like Simba and the Lion King. And we run away from our calling, being the king of our family. And we go frolic out in the oasis with a bunch of other critters that we're wasting our time with. And then when people cry out for us to help, like, no, like Nala comes out to the oasis and finds Simba and says, the whole pride is ruined. There's no food. Scar took over and he's making it miserable. The family member who killed his dad, the traitor in the family, stole his rightful place as king of his kingdom. You're the king of your family. You're the protector and the leader. Women are not. That's why when they take a leadership role, they utterly fail for the most part. They can't discipline their kids. They don't know how to. Women know how to. I just saw some lady talk about this. Women know how to guard against emotions of being distraught and sad and stuff like that. Men know how to guard and contain emotions of anger and rage. Women let their kids get away with murder sometimes. Fathers set parameters that don't tolerate that stuff. You can look at the difference with a father. There's videos online where a kid's crying. There's the one where this kid is crying. He looks like an Asian kid, and the mom is like, sit down, lay down. I don't want to sleep. I want to play. I don't want to sleep. You're sick. You need to lay down. I don't. And dad comes in and says, sit down. And the kid just gets quiet and sits down. You know, they say, wait till your dad gets home, right? There's authority and safety that comes with fathers. I think it was in Detroit. There's a story about a middle school that I've talked about this before. Middle school had bullying problems and fights breaking out. A dozen dads got together and patrolled the schools. All they did was just walk around the school. They didn't fight a kid, restrain a kid, hold a kid, intervene in a fight. There were no fights anymore. The mere presence of men calmed the situation. When men get involved in something like that, and real men get involved, their mere presence holds people in check. Not all the time, but that was a great example. It stopped just from men patrolling the halls because most schools are dominated by the unions and the radical feminist bitches that are running the school system. Females saying your kid is a tranny. Females saying your kids got ADHD. We need to give them medicine. The pharmaceutical said so. And women, Eve was the one who was deceived. Adam was rebellious. Women are targeted by the business world and the marketing system because they're easily bamboozled. Think about all the most popular pop songs out there that cater to women. Like corny groups like NSYNC or New Kids on the Block. Or what's that hoe that's dating Kelsey? That country singing hoe. She got all that, they market that, they market all that stuff. Some of the most popular songs and albums and music and entertainment. The makeup industry, of course, caters to women. These sell stuff to women because they're more easily marketed to and bamboozled. That's why women, when they go to a car dealership or a mechanic, they bring a man with them because they'll get suckered. Women are different than men. Men aren't better and have greater value than women inherently. We have roles we do better than women. That's just the way that it is. Any woman who wants to be protected by a man and be sheltered in their man and support their man and knows their role and is happy being a housewife or in their lane, they don't have a problem with that. It's all these butch, manly, hideously ugly, radical feminists who can't get a high-quality man. Like, look at Joy Bear from The View. She got a bitch-ass, simp, fruity, little, skinny, raunchy, little, scrawny, little gay boy of a man. That's a nagging witch of a bitch. No matter what side of politics you're on, I mean, she's, she does those anti-Trump stuff or whatever, but you just watch her. Sounds like a nagging witch all day long. And she just makes up stuff and contradicts herself all the time because she'll have an agenda and she'll say this and that, and this is the way that it is. If I got on there and talk about fathers' rights, saying, fathers are a bunch of deadbeats and child support and blah, 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 blah. When women get a platform or a place of authority, 90% of them F it up. Look at the WNBA. All the women think because Caitlin Clark came in there and made the NBA player. NBA players are saying, I'm watching Caitlin Clark. This lady's special. All these butch, dyke, psycho, narcissistic hoes are out there mad at Caitlin Clark. Why? Because she's better than them or more entertaining. I don't even know if I've ever enjoyed. There's been greater players than Caitlin, of course. Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Miller's probably the GOAT. But as far as I remember, her game is kind of boring. Just a power forward on the block or whatever. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Caitlin Clark looks like Steph Curry out there. Watch Aries Spears on Vlad TV talk about it. But Angel Reese looks like a newborn giraffe stumbling around who misses layups all the time. And she's better skilled than Caitlin Clark. That's like saying, I don't know who's out there now. That's like saying Chuck Nevitt or Bill Lambier or I don't know. Who's a slow, lurchy Frankenstein looking type of basketball player is more skilled than Steph Curry. And see, that's women versus men. Men are out here complimenting. LeBron James said, you don't get it effed up. the WNBA has exploded in popularity, which means it went from like this to this, and most people aren't watching unless Caitlin Clark is on there. And then Angel Reese is like, you're watching it because of me, and all this you saw a straight up narcissist diva, social media, attention whore, single mom raised bitch coming out there hating on somebody who has better skill or whatever. And you saw the win. And Charles Barkley said the WNBA women could not have effed this up even worse. They were so petty. They're shooting this up. This lady is elevating the game and people's chances to get more salaries, more TV contracts. And all, the TV contracts is where it's at. You saw women on display. Women, when they try and do stuff like a man does or do their own leagues like man, women aren't out there. Like, watch Bill Burr. Go on YouTube and type in, if you haven't seen it, Bill Burr, Burr, WNBA. That guy destroys. He goes, you crazy bitches, you're complaining that men aren't supporting the WNBA. There's no women in the crowds. If you guys want somebody, that's how crazy and psycho women are. Oh, you're not supporting us. Why don't you go out? I don't like women's basketball. Then shut the F up. Women are so emotional, they will say stuff off the cuff and think that they're right because they feel that way, because their feelings are their reality. And they literally won't listen to what you're saying. They'll listen to how you say it or how it makes them feel. There's a great page on YouTube and I don't know if he's on YouTube. He's on Facebook and Instagram. I am Mr. Let Go. That dude says that women are children. And he has to say that because when women are in a place of authority or in a place of leadership like a man, they act like children there. They can't do the stuff that we could do up here. They're nurturing and their skills as a mother. They're nurturing skills. Now, there's exceptions to that. You see women lawyers who are, or women civil rights activists and stuff. But in general, the average woman isn't out there trying to be Xena warrior, ho bitch. I run things up here. And most of the women who are like that, career oriented, all this other stuff, they're not fun to be around. No, they're not feminine. No, and they're complaining that there's no men around and all this other stuff. Anyway, that's why Kevin Samuels and all those guys got real popular. Dang, I've been on here for 2.5 hours. It's not. Louis Litera says it's not over until I win. Yep. I actually have my mind made up. This is the honest to God truth that I was going to fight until my daughter was 18 because at first I was looking bleak, 2.5 months of me getting zero visitation. Then the mother got an attorney and she started letting me see my daughter for a few hours about a few weeks before my hearing where I got 5 days a week, my first quarter of visitation. A couple weeks before that, the mother got an attorney and all of a sudden she offered, hey, the mother wants to offer you a few hours a week. Bring one of your friends to meet bring your friend to meet one of her roommates at the edge of the street. All this weird, like keeping your distance stuff. I haven't talked to the chick in 20 years also. I'd care less. She probably would be embarrassed to have to face me. Last time we were in court, I humiliated her and her attorneys in the audience. And the judge's bailiff was looking at me like, I stood up at the end of the hearing. I looked up and I saw her because I told my whole story about when I went to jail, they didn't care about my daughter, all this other stuff. I made everybody in the room feel crunchy. So they never want to deal with me again, probably. That being said, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, I had my mind made up. If I continued to lose and I was looking hopeless and bleak, I was going for the throat and I'm going to war and I'm going to be in court. And anytime I have a chance to go to court and fight for my kid, I'm going to do it. Because if I couldn't be in my daughter's life, like the Guardian Line interviewed me and said, hey, the mom's thinking about moving out of state. James, the mom's thinking about moving. This is in my original custody battle in the first 7 months. The mom's thinking about moving. What do you think about that? I said, is she moving to Georgia where she's originally from? She goes, I don't know. And she knew, she didn't want to tell me. I said, well, if the mom's moving, I'm moving. Wherever my daughter's going, I'm going. And some of you dumbasses and lazy bitches would say, well, I got a job here and I don't know if I can have a job and I don't know if I can have a housing and I don't know if I can be set up. I'd have lived in a box to be near my daughter because I had a kid. And some of you guys, I have a job and I have a career and I have this and I have this. And is it more important than your kids? If it is, then fine. Then shut the F up and get off my page. If your kid is the most important thing, you can get a job later. You can't get your kid later. This is your kid. You're losing your kid. You can't get your kid back with another kid. If you start a new family, that kid is still your kid. When my baby's mom's attorney called up, and after I beat the snot out of her over and over and over again, he called up and said she wants to surrender. And I said, to what? He says she's thinking about possibly surrendering. You could have custody. And I was like, oh my God, and I almost fainted. It was because I beat the snot out. Even if I didn't win all those hearings that I told you about that I won, contempt and my 5 days a week visitation and get on the offensive with discovery and hold the mother accountable and all that stuff. Even if I didn't win and humiliate her in court, the war of attrition wore her down. And I was in shock. I didn't know that it was working. It didn't even look like it was working, but I was just happy to get the 4-day-a-week visitation. So I had no end in sight with that stuff, but I had my mind made up. I'm fighting until my daughter's 18. Everything else is second place. I fight for my daughter. I look for work. I fight for my daughter. I look for housing. All you dads out there, most of you are like, oh, my job and what I do for a living, and that's inconvenient and blah, blah. I understand you don't want to follow a female because that's not the nature of a guy. But once you have a kid and you invite the court system into your life, then you've invited them to rule over you. And your kid is best off with you. If you actually love your kid and care about your kid, why wouldn't you revolve your life around your kid? It turned out I didn't have to fight for 18 years, even though I was in and out of court for 20. I didn't have to fight for 18 years, but I had my mind made up, and that made it a lot easier, and that's why I did what I did. And all you guys that set the bar this low, I set the bar up here in my case for me and my life with my kid, and I had my mind made up. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. I'm alone. I will go alone in this. And now that I did that and went through that hell, now I'm blessed. I got people who want me and need me, and people who look up to me because of what I did when it was looking bleak back then. And I didn't do the punk, bitch, cowering, cop out, bail on my kid stuff when it got hard. And I had a hard life for 7 months, and I went through all kinds of emotion and hell. And this is why none of you guys' excuses will work. Either you want to fight for your kid or you don't. You want to sit there and argue and talk to me about it? Oh, well, I got a job and overtime and all this other stuff. I had 2 jobs. Well, it's hard. I know it's hard. Well, nobody's there to support me. I didn't have anybody to support me. Well, the court system is biased. They were biased against me. I lost several times. I lost or I broke even. I didn't get a win for 2.5 months. Well, I tried contempt and lost. Tried again. I had a dad in a case. He got the mother found in contempt 5 times. His first 2 tries, they gave him makeup time, but he didn't get her. I should do a video just on this. The first 2 tries of contempt, they didn't find contempt. They're like, well, there's a mistake, misunderstanding, but we'll give you makeup time, which is basically admitting contempt because you don't do makeup time unless they committed contempt. Then he kept at it and kept at it. And when she slipped up, they kept at it. Then he got her found in contempt 5 times. He got a hold of me late in the game, though. She was already kind of brainwashed and alienated. But he still got the mother in trouble and held her accountable. But that guy has the most success at contempt I've ever seen. Because he kept at it and he didn't give up like a bitch. Now, that was an ugly war because he got a hold of me when his daughter was like, 9 or 10. And the mother started brainwashing her and we started fighting. He had done 1 contempt on his own. I helped him with the contempt. I tried to help him with the modification. They dismissed that. And then he did 5 contempts with my help. He got her found in contempt. This guy was at it until his daughter was 16, and then she was kind of brainwashed just because he had a personality issue where he wasn't really fun to deal with. But that should not have prevented what it prevented. And then he actually tried to get his gun rights back because of a restraining order, and an attorney screwed him over. He spent $1,500, and I helped him write up the lawsuit against his attorney, and his attorney hired a law firm. And after we did like 3 consults or 3 meetings with the law firm, at first they were willing to offer a couple grand. Yeah, we feel bad for you. He screwed up, but you'll never win. And we're like, F you. We'll go for it anyway. And then there was another meeting. And then we did a move between the second and third meeting. The third meeting, they offered him $25,000 to settle a malpractice suit. And you guys won't even write a letter demanding your money back from the attorney. The attorney already hates you. The attorney's already threatening to take you to garnishment. It's like, all these attorneys out here treating you guys like shit and trying to rape you. And here I am charging a little bit. And then people get mad at me. And then some people, like there's one of my stalker haters. He actually got a consult with me like, I don't know, I think it was 12 or 15 years ago or something. He comes on my TikTok and says, I got a consult with you, and I went to court and they threw my paperwork out. And so I got attorneys, and I've had 2 attorneys that spent $50,000, and I'm still on supervised visits. Well, first of all, that's the asshole who said the only reason I got custody is because my baby's mom was a black crackhead. So that racist bitch assumed because she's black, she's on crack. And then he says, my paperwork got thrown out. The only way his paperwork got thrown out is if he didn't listen to what I said, and he blames me for it. This is one of those guys who wants to just pay somebody else to do everything, and he doesn't want to get ready for a hearing, doesn't want to prepare for oral. He wants somebody else to do it for him because mommy did everything for him. And then he admits he tried me one time, went to one hearing and lost, and he quit on my help. When I lost the first 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't get what I wanted for 4 hearings. It took 2.5 months. I got 5 days a week. He pussied out, and then he gets it, and then he gets an attorney, and the attorney screws him over. He gets another attorney, and he admits he's on supervised visitation after all these attorneys, and he blames me 100% for all of that. And when he was, the time he claims, I don't remember the dude. And I could have made a mistake with something or whatever, but I always tell people how to look up the rules and confirm it themselves, because if you actually give a shit about your own case, you won't just say, oh, James said this. I tell people, here's the law, go study it. Here's the rules, go study it. Here's what works here. Go see what the court's etiquette is. Go see the deadlines to file your paperwork and the page limit. He didn't do all that. He just I worked with him on paperwork, and maybe I did paperwork. Just sometimes where I did certain paperwork under certain circumstances. And maybe I did the paperwork for him, and then he didn't do the filing right or something like that. And he blames me for everything else that happened after he quit after that first hearing. And again, this is a war of attrition. One hearing does not make war. Just one battle does not make a war. One hearing does not make a custody battle. I feel like it's different, but I think about the phrase, I've mentioned this before. Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed thousands of more slaves if they knew they were slaves. They didn't want to be free. These dads don't want to fight for their kids. They want somebody to hand it to them, something that they don't deserve. Kind of like LeBron handed a draft pick to his son, and his son wasn't even, he scored like 4 points a game, I think, for UFC. And then his dad said, oh, let's draft him so that we can play together and do this publicity stunt. And I know some people are saying, well, nepotism happens. LeBron James was raised by a single mom. He has single mom welfare energy. He has beta faggot energy. He always wants to be around friends. He needs everybody to like him. Alpha males like Kobe. And Kobe was training Gigi to be a great basketball player because she wanted it. His other daughters didn't want that. He didn't make them do that. Michael Jordan had 2 sons. They weren't good enough to make it. He didn't give them a hookup. Real men say you earn that stuff. Now, I know in pro sports, you get hookups between management and owners and stuff, but that's the administrative side. That happens everywhere in the regular world. But when we're talking about like a merit-based thing, like where we're talking about your talent, if you go to the Olympics, nobody gives you a welfare participation trophy access to the Olympics. You either make the cut or you don't. There's a bunch of NBA players with sons. Gary Payton, Steph Curry is the son of Del Curry. You think Steph Curry needed a hookup from his dad? There's nobody in the history of the NBA that got a hookup from a parent to be drafted. Now, for him to have a tryout and go undrafted, people would probably respect that more if he made the team there. But to have him drafted, that was just, And they say, well, there's no 55th pick that ever turned out okay. Well, that's an 8. You're still honoring somebody with a draft pick. It's like hiring somebody who slept with the boss or knew the boss or had a friend that hooked up with somebody. You know, my first job as a busboy, my dad knew the head waiter and he got me a job as a busboy. So there's hookups like that happen. We're talking about professional sports and somebody who's trained all their life who didn't get a shot at that 55th pick. Now there's some people who were late second rounder. John Stockton was a second rounder, I think. And some people argue he's the greatest pure point guard ever. I think it goes Magic, Isaiah Thomas, maybe Stockton's right there, or I guess Steph Curry's considered a point guard, so tie between him and Isaiah, but Magic has a great case for being the greatest player overall because nobody had a finals appearance like he did. But in any case, the point is, and Magic Johnson, father raised, alpha, you know, warrior type of stuff. These guys would never give their kids a handout. They would make them earn it. It's only in this generation that we see that. And you see all this attention whore beta energy with LeBron James. You know, nobody talks about how since we're on that, nobody talks about how his dad was never around. But whose fault was that? And LeBron, you know, he's probably a great dad. He's a devoted dad. He's there. You don't see any baby mamas outside of his relationship. The fact that he did the Diddy parties, though, is suspect. But if you look at it on his face, you know, he's a devoted dad in his kid's life. He's going to his kids' games and stuff. A lot of these dads who played in the NBA are missing out on their kids. So you got to hand that to him. But a lot of feminine energy stuff that comes from being raised by a welfare mom. And anything he got that's manly or competitive came from the guys that were in his life. But his mom was a crackhead whore. She slept with somebody in the neighborhood. So she didn't even go to the Division of Child Support or the welfare system, say, find this dad, whatever. She was so stuck on getting her drugs and getting her little booty busted by a different guy every night. She didn't even care about her kid enough to find out who the dad was. Maybe she didn't know. But she could have done something about it. It's his mom's crackhead whore welfare mentality. And she was on welfare at some point, but she didn't have them go look for the dad. She didn't even give them the candidates because she didn't care. She probably was like, oh, I'm on welfare. That's all I need. My LeBron was couch surfing from the uncles to the barbershop to whatever. He didn't have a stable home. So she didn't care. And that dude worships his mom. There's one time where LeBron, she's like yelling at the ref, and he turns to her and he goes, sit your ass down. He had to tell his mom to calm down because she was embarrassing him. She's always wearing LeBron's jersey at games. Look at me, attention whore groupie. That's my son. These single moms turn their kids into their boyfriends, you know, because that's the man they can control, because they couldn't control the other ones or keep them around. So they can control their son. And there's a perverted Oedipus complex, and it's not sexual, but it's just relationship-wise, it's messed up. But LeBron's got all this feminine energy. And I was thinking early on in his career, I'm like, man, this guy's going to turn out to be the greatest of all time and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of great videos about how it's MJ all day. But you have this alpha beta thing, and nobody talks about the reality of it's her fault that he doesn't know. Every once in a while, he seems like a little bit hurt or bitter about it. Maybe he knows who he is now, or he came forward behind the scenes, but he's like, I'm going to be there for my kids, not like whatever. Sometimes you see that. So he might have a father wound, but you know, he never wants to be alone. He says that. He always got to have friends around. He has a savior complex. He wants to be the greatest this and the greatest that. He wanted to be an ambassador his rookie year. He had all these dreams. The stuff that he wanted, that organically comes. Like Michael Jordan didn't look to be the greatest of all time. He didn't look to be have the greatest empire of sportswear shoes. He didn't look to make the NBA go worldwide. He just went out and worked his ass off and did the alpha male thing. And he actually walked into Chicago, like he said, humble, like, I need to earn my way in here. LeBron came walking in, I'm the chosen one, tattooed on his back, like Angel Reese, except he had the talent to back it up. And so, you know, he shows some alpha stuff sometimes, but he has a lot of feminine beta energy. And it comes from, that shows you being raised by a mother as opposed to being raised by a dad. Kobe and Jordan are, alpha competitive cutthroat males. And LeBron's like, let me be your friend. Like, I'll compete hard, but let's be friends before, during, and after. And let's go to a Diddy party and dress up like a gay tranny in an apron. Anyway, just want to point that out. Nobody cares about the fact that, and his mom slept with one of his teammates. So she's a little groupie whore. And so she's got a big old mansion. His dad doesn't get shit because the mom made sure that he didn't exist. Or that dude might not even know that he's LeBron's dad. Or he might be a total loser. Keith Watkins says, morning, ladies and gents. It's 4 a.m. over here on West Coast. My sleep is way off because I pulled a couple all-nighters for this lady that I'm helping out at trial. I think I mentioned her in here. I mentioned her in another video. Helped this lady who hadn't seen her kids for a couple years do a trial. And she destroyed the father and destroyed the father's attorney. And she's representing herself. She destroyed him. They only had a 1.5 day trial. She killed him. I'm actually surprised. I was worried she would fizzle under the pressure. She was an emotional wreck when she came to me a couple of years ago, or a 1.5 years ago. She hadn't seen her kids in like 2 years now. But she went in there and destroyed them. She had a mentality, I got nothing to lose, I might as well go for it. And she put herself out there, and she's being vulnerable and open to the court and calling the father out and cross-examining him or questioning what he was saying. They had a nowadays in Washington, or at least in King County, you can do a informal trial where they do it where the judge does a lot of questioning themselves, and it's orchestrated different. And they don't. I would never do it because they throw out the evidence rules. I would want to use the evidence rules, but it worked out for her, and she destroyed them. I can't wait to see the ruling on her case, what happens, because she'll be ecstatic if she can get anything. She really has, she has a chance to flip custody, but she had something due today that my sleep was already off, and so I had to work several hours in the middle of the night to get something done, so my sleep is way off, and so I'm up here at 4 in the morning like it's 4 in the afternoon doing this. Anyway, if I hurt anybody's feelings watching this, sorry. This is the reality of what it is. It'd be nice if everybody if it was more like criminal court, we had more due process, you had a jury trial and all that stuff. It's not. It's the way that it is. Stop having kids with crazy chicks, and Kevin Samuel said, and Kevin focused on, he's black, so he focused on the black community and black mothers and black families and the breaking up of it. So he focused a lot on the statistics there. But it was interesting seeing the statistics, because he was like, all you women are saying there's no good men out there, 50%, and he would say 50% of black single men or black men are single with no children. So you got plenty to choose from. You just want these 6-figure salary, bling bling and rich whatever, pulling up in a Ferrari and taking you out for sushi at a fancy restaurant every night. Social media has got women living in this princess fantasy world. But what I didn't realize is something that he said that makes sense now, because you see a dude with 2 or 3 different babies' moms. That's one guy having kids with 3 other women. So there's 3 women to 1 guy making kids out of wedlock. And I can't remember what the statistic was, but Kevin Samuel said, like 27% of the men in the black community are making like 60 or 70% of the out of wedlock kids. It was some astonishing thing. I may be exaggerating, but it was basically, the point was, you women are making babies with the same low life, low energy bum dads. And then you're saying that men ain't ish and there's no real good men out here. And you're ignoring the guy who's the plumber or the electrician or the mailman who might have like 100,000 in savings in the bank that he's been saving for 15 years or whatever. And he's not living super rich, but he's comfortable and he's getting ready for retirement. And that's the American dream, or at least it was 50 or 60 years ago when black families were 80% intact and they were doing better than white families. Women have destroyed families in general. And I did a TikTok video that got banned immediately. This one lady was doing a political statement and saying black women are the ones who save America most of the time throughout history, which is utter bullshit. Men built America. Black, white, brown, Latino. Men built America. Men protect America. Women aren't on the front line protecting us. There's a couple of exceptions to that. They're not building everything. They're not building stuff that makes us safe. They're not building airbags that pop out in cars. They're not doing the studies of, with crash test dummies. They're not doing the boring work like that. They're walking around trying to be prima donna divas and flattering themselves because their husband's got money. They think they're the shit. There's a lady out there, I forget her name. I did a video on her. Probably should repost it because I got a new Instagram, but what is her little saying is sparkle, sparkle or something. Twinkle, twinkle or sparkle, sparkle. And she talks about women. The number one way to be rich is to marry into money. And she said, and then she has like this cleft palate looking lip. And she thinks she's cute, but she's not. And she has these big bug eyes and she'll pause and everybody's hating on me because I got my shit together. I'm rich. And she says, you marry into wealth and you take his money and start your business. That's the best and fastest way. And you break the generational curse of poverty in your family. I'm the first one in my family to break that wasn't in poverty. And she's doing these videos and her husband's a total simp, knowing that she's just taking him and using him and he doesn't give a shit. I think she allows him to have a side girlfriend or something like that. So they got all kinds of weird dysfunction going on. But she's out there preaching to women, the man will make you rich. And she's right to that point. But the arrogance of her to say this, I'm the shit and you guys are just hating on me because I'm working it. Why wouldn't you do this stuff? It's like you don't have any value. You just took somebody's money and got yourself rich. You should give props to him and not glorify yourself for that. But, gosh, what is her? She says something weird like sparkle, sparkle, or twinkle, twinkle, like some little magical stars floating around. I think she has a 7 in her username. I forget. But women are delusional nowadays. They flatter themselves. They think they're the shit. They get custody of these kids. They sit on their ass. The kids are raised by the TV or video games. That chick that I dated, she should just give her phone to her daughter. And I used to think her daughter would play games on and stuff like that. And then I'd watch closer. She'd watching all kinds of, she'll watch something and it's like a horror movie and she's 5 on YouTube. Or you hear some cussing and stuff like that. And the poor girl, her mom, she's staying the night at a different dude's house 3 to 5 times a week. And, it's funny, this chick dated her boss at the Cheesecake Factory. One of the guys she slept with behind my back he was the manager at the Cheesecake Factory in Bellevue, Washington out here. He eventually got fired, I found out. And the only reason I know this stuff is because we had to go back and forth in restraining order battles. After I got a restraining order, she tried to get one against me. So I was doing discovery and stuff like that and trying to figure out arguments to use against her. And so she's dating this guy, 50 years old, screwing her 19-year-old carpet cleaner, had to pay her $500. I confronted that guy because she said she was apologizing and said he forced himself on her when she was tipsy or something. I confronted him. And he started talking shit about me and all the stuff he knew about me. Some little 19-year-old Jamaican arrogant prick kid. And a lot of people tell me Jamaicans are really brazen and they're a bunch of shit talkers because they come from a country with a whole bunch of warrior gang-banging drug lords or something like that. I don't know. But then her other boyfriend is a 50-year-old. I actually felt bad for the dude because when I found out about him, I saw he had messaged her saying, hey, where were you? Ghosted me all weekend. I thought we were really going to build a future together and you're somebody who's going to be in my life. And she's like, I just had to step back for a minute. I have nothing against you. We'll talk later. And she's hanging out with me all weekend. Because we kind of met, I was dating her when I still had my kid at home. And so we're busy. We gave each other our space. And so during the space, that gave her a lot of time to play around with other dudes. So She's a hostess at Cheesecake Factory, screwing the boss, and he eventually gets fired. And then I reach out to him. I say, hey, dude, this chick is playing a bunch of us. He didn't care. Simp ass bitch. But then and the culture of guys who mess around like this, they just don't care. It's all a big game, and it's fun and games. You just move on to the next one. Everybody uses each other, and then nobody cares about the kids left behind. But then the dude, so I have a process server serving her something to defend against one of her bogus restraining order attempts against me. My process server follows her, and then I'm done with the chick. I break it off. She's back with her child molesting, felon, violent, DV perping boyfriend. That boyfriend skips town for a couple days for July 4th or something. Then the Cheesecake Factory guy knows that it was over or whatever. Then she goes and stays the night at the Cheesecake Factory dude's house, and she's dragging the daughter with her. And I only know that because a processor is following her and follows her and finds her and waits outside. And then he has to serve her, leave paperwork at her old apartment. And she's gone to the middle of the night. And I think is that when she texted me? She violated my protection order and texted me and went off of me. It's just crazy. These dudes, as I was talking about Kevin Samuels, these dudes don't care about sharing chicks or whatever. You know, the 19-year-old knew about me, probably knew about the Cheesecake Factory guy, knew about she's going back to the boyfriend, but they had an open relationship, so they don't care. There's this one guy, this one guy talks about issues, a lot of men's issues, and he was that side dude. He was in a car. He was about to go have sex with this chick, and she had a boyfriend. And then she gets off the phone with him, and she's like, he's so stupid. I need to find out who that guy is. He acts like such a tough alpha with a beard and rose-tinted shades and thinks he's all cool. But he said that was a revelation for him, and he needed to stop doing it. But he was doing it. He was being that side dude. He's like, I get to sleep with her for free. And she's like, my boyfriend is so stupid. He's buying me flowers. He calls and checks on me, says, I love you. And I don't give him any and all this other stuff. And he's like, damn, that's pretty effed up. And then he went and slept with her anyway. And now he's talking about dad's issues and telling dads don't do that. What is that? He has a coffee mug up front in his videos. And he has a saying at the end of his videos. Because I get banned from TikTok and Instagram, I lose people I follow, so I forget. At the end, he says something like, stay strong, don't be stupid, or he uses some different words, but it's like, he uses a cliche in a different way, basically saying, stay strong, be a real man, and don't, I forget what the saying is. But anyway, this dude is out here. I reached out to him. I said, hey, you talk about father issues and stuff. And like, this is what always happens. I reach out to this guy. I said, I'm a father's rights advocate. You talk about father's issues, men's issues. You talk about father's issues too. He was like, yeah. I said, well, what's your, he said, I'm just trying to spread awareness. I'm like, oh, these mother effers. Spread awareness. Let me just talk about it so people know. People who know, everybody knows there's child trafficking. Do we have 100,000 or 100 million people out there looking for child traffickers? No. Everybody just knows it while they're sitting at home and going to bed and kids are getting trafficked. Awareness doesn't do shit. Awareness talk is BS. It's somebody feeling good because they got the word out, and all these rookies come along, these people right out of boot camp, they had, like, I'm a 5-star general in the father's rights movement. People come to me and say, hey, James, the system is biased. They rule against fathers. They're biased. I'm like, you don't think I know that basic legal 101 bullcrap? How stupid are you? You're going to walk up to Michael Jordan and say, hey, you need to dribble the ball when you're moving, and you pick up your dribble, you got to stay with your pivot foot. How would you have the audacity to talk to Michael Jordan, who's as accomplished as anybody could be, and then tell him a basic fundamental thing about basketball? You look like a retarded, numbnuts, brainless zombie. People call him, telling me, well, the system is like this, and you don't seem to know, or you don't seem to care. The judges rule like, I already know that. I'm telling people how to overcome that, you stupid, bitch-ass, fruity gay boy coward. Whining, crying, and bitching because you fought the wrong way, and you think there's You think that's an excuse to just quit and say, oh, the system is rigged? Anybody who's ever overcome anything in life or been successful, they could have said along the way, I got the wrong end of the... Michael Jordan got cut his sophomore year in high school from the varsity. I guess he must have played JV. He could have said, I quit this basketball thing. It's not for me. He loved baseball first when he was younger. He could have said, I'm just going to go to baseball. But he didn't. He still moved forward. Anybody who's been a CEO or really successful, this is why you don't need to always shit on billionaires or super rich. Like, everybody hates the rich. There are rich people who are destroying stuff, like Bill Gates is corrupt and evil and demonic as Hitler was. But you don't just say, oh, you're rich, so you had it easy and stuff. There's some people who earn this shit, and haters are going to hate because they can't do what the other person did because they don't want to. And so people love hating on me or talking shit about me or saying, I don't know what I'm talking about because of their experience. If you see my winning court orders and you're talking shit to me because of your experience, you did something different than me or wrong. You should at least have some respect. Like, wow, you did that? That seems amazing. I got really screwed. Did you get lucky? How did you do it? But you're not curious enough or thirsty enough for knowledge, or you don't have a sense of urgency to figure out. Like, every time I came across something or somebody that looked legit, I would reach out to them or call them or look at it. Oh, this person's full of crap. They're just faking. Oh, this person's the real deal. Bob Carlos at Dads Against Discrimination is the real deal. Dennis Gack at the National Brotherhood of Fathers' Rights, he's the real deal. He got 50-50. He bullied. That's the guy who taught me about the war of attrition, Dennis Gack, G-A-C. His stuff is still online, but I think he's dead now. And he was a bit of a hustler, but he said some stuff that was true. He talked about the paper blizzard, and he would bomb the crap out of the other side with a bunch of paperwork, and he had the mother's attorney calling him and saying, Dennis, what is it going to take for you to back down? What do you want? That's where you want the other attorney to be at, instead of the other attorney saying, hey, shut up, leave me alone. Don't call me unless it's to talk about visitation exchanges. You're harassing my client. We're a victim. You're a monster. You don't want them in control the whole time. I told my judge in writing, the mother and her attorney, they did a contempt motion. This is after I won my reversal in the Court of Appeals, and the judge just had it out for me. My baby's mom and her attorney did a contempt motion against me because they were saying that I didn't give her school and medical records. I gave her the phone number to the school and medical facility to call them up and get them herself. I'm not going to go digging 15 years of medical records because she didn't look at them. She can go look at them herself. So they tried to do contempt against me. I didn't show up at the hearing because I never got served, and the judge issued a bench warrant for my arrest, and I was arrested, and I was in jail for 8 days. I have a whole story about that. But then they did a follow-up contempt saying I lied about my daughter. I didn't give her the proper school information. I gave her the last known school because I wasn't sure what school she was going to next. So they lied on the contempt. They got me found in contempt and awarded attorney fees, and I haven't paid a dime. And so in that paperwork, I said, you guys have it out for me now. Now it's just a game of you railroading me, and the fix is in. Why do you hate me so much? Why are you tag teaming me with the mother's sexually deviant, perverted, racist attorney who's called women attorney racial slurs? He loses cases on purpose. I have a whole video on this guy where I show you guys this stuff. He loses cases on purpose for women clients. They go broke, and he says, you poor thing, why don't you come live with me while you can't afford your bills until you get back on your feet? And don't worry about paying me off. Just do some legal secretary work at my house for free. So he's probably secretly videotaping them. And he has free slave labor. And I tell my judge this. I said, I finally figured out what the problem was, though. And this is in writing. I said, you guys hate my guts because I date beautiful women and you both have hideously ugly wives. I said that on paper. And you guys are afraid to tell the judge you're wrong about the law. This is what the law says. I made a personal shot, probably one of the most insulting things I could say to my judge and his attorney. And the baby's mom's attorney. And it didn't matter that I lost the contempt. The mother didn't care about the kid. It was all foregone. So now we were just playing games at this point. Did I get thrown in jail for talking shit to the judge? No. The judge at the hearing said, well, James is mocking our wives and stuff. And then he just moved on to the next thing. Nothing happened. And you guys are afraid to tell the judge what case law says from the Court of Appeals or Supreme Court, which is an authority over the judge. It's like in the military, you talk to, a higher ranking military leader, and he gives the command for everybody else. You tell everybody else, this is what he said. You better listen. They better listen. It doesn't matter that they don't like you. They better listen. I'm telling him a legal authority, and I had to go to the Court of Appeals once to get one of his errors fixed and reversed. I actually could have got him reversed 2 other times. But again, I just didn't want to bother. So let me see if I have more comments. So Lewis is saying she spent over, is that $25,000? It looks like $250 with a comment. You must mean $25,000 on 2 attorneys. I fought them both, pro se in one. Same here. My baby's mom went, there's one period of time for a week that we talked and tried to be civil, and then her attorney got in the middle, and I'm like, screw this. I'm done. I'm not going to do this stupid game. You're going to get your attorney involved when we're trying to be civil for the sake of our kid. F you. So she told me I'm going to be paying off these attorneys the rest of my life. I said, why don't you just work with me? I don't know how to do these motions. Well, don't file anything and you won't have to worry about it. Well, you're filing motions against me. That's because you're dragging me into court, dummy. She was so delusional. Women will do stuff to their own detriment. There's women who will fight and fight, and at the end of their court case, like, man, I spent $20,000. We could have saved that for an education or, for college for our kid. Yeah, no ish, bitch. That's what we've been telling you all along, but you don't think long-term because women can't think long-term like that. Some can, but most of them don't. That's why you guys got to take control of your case, because you're dealing with a psycho babbling, emotional basket case weirdo. That's right, James. They say knowledge is power, but true power is the use of knowledge. Yep. She spent $250. She spent $250,000. See, there you go. Here's an example right here. This guy is saying, I don't know if we've ever had an appointment or not, but here's this guy. I don't know him. He's sitting there saying he defeated 2 attorneys and the mom spent $250,000. If you guys use the hashtag HIGC, initials for how I got custody, testimony, you'll find testimonies on YouTube where I talk about and I show you emails that I got from people or text messages or DMs where they're telling me they had a consult with me, they got 50-50, they got full custody, or they watch my videos or whatever. You guys can see more testimonials like that. So, anyway, I'm going to jump off here. That's enough rambling. Can't even remember what I started talking about. Oh, I wanted to talk about people in the comments saying, this is how I lost. This is how I lost. I'm really disappointed in the system. Why don't you realize that you're a rookie, you don't know what the hell you're doing, and get some help from a veteran? Anyway, let's be realistic and honest with ourselves. Call a spade a spade. The system isn't changing. You're not going to get anything fair right away. You might, if you get on the offensive and you go to war and you make up your mind this is for the long term, the war of attrition, all that, you have a better chance at getting something fair, and you'll have an easier time dealing with the pain and suffering of all this. If you want a quick, fast thing and you think the court should do better justice for you and everything should be honky-dory, you're going to be frustrated. If you expect something that's unrealistic and it doesn't come to pass, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to give yourself an ulcer. If you expect to be treated unfairly, you hope for the best or you prepare for the worst. And you expect to go into a war and suffer some injuries and bumps and bruises. A football player who gets injured or gets hit and is sore, they just recover and do the recovery, and they shouldn't have got a cheap shot or hit somebody leading with a helmet or whatever, but that stuff happens. You don't expect everybody to play fair and perfectly all the time. And it's a violent sport, and you expect violence, and there's possible career-ending injuries and stuff like that. You risk it anyway. There's possible concussion stuff that those guys risk. All kinds of stuff, and they know that going in. And when you know that going in, when stuff happens, you can overcome it. Like, okay, I'll bounce back. Instead of, oh my God, I have this injury, and he shouldn't have cheated, and he shouldn't have hit me, pulled on my leg at the bottom of the pile when no one was looking. It's like that stuff happens. You just man up and you move forward. If you expect that bad stuff should never happen, you will get frustrated with the system. You have to be realistic about it. And you have to be realistic There's people who, people around me felt bad and they wanted to support me, but they can't. It's my battle and it's my journey. They didn't have sex with my baby's mom or have a kid with my baby's mom. They didn't make the mistake I did. I have to own it and I have to do what it takes to fix it. And this is the only thing that fixes it. Get on the offensive, go to war, and fight the war of attrition in the only way that's worked for anybody. The women who are winning, they fight the war of attrition. And then they have the court on their side, so they have a little extra advantage, but they're fighting the war of attrition. They're getting on the offensive, they're talking crazy about you, and they're lying. Why can't you go into court and talk the truth about them and talk crazy about them, but say the truth? The whole purpose of the court system is to get to the truth and the justice of the matter, and you don't want to tell the truth. And like the dude said, my attorney said, I can't attack the GAL. The GAL is lying about you. You can't point out to the judge that the GAL is lying? Who the F is the GAL? These attorneys have it built up in their head that the GALs have you by the balls. And sometimes they do. If they write a report, the court may adopt it. In Washington state, there should be some case law in your state. Higher court precedent says this: the court does not have to listen to a GAL. The court can disregard a GAL report, honor some of it. It's the parents don't just have the right to contest the GAL's findings or recommendations. They have a duty to the court to expose any problems with the GAL investigation so that the judge, this is case law, this is higher court precedent. This is what the higher courts have said about GALs in Washington. I think the case is called Swanson. But if you get my defense against guardian litem packet, you can see how I fought guardian litems. And you have to find, if you're in Washington, it's got all kinds of great case law for you. If you're not in Washington, you still get the spirit of the argument and the structure of the argument, and it's worth the $45 just for that. That's why I make it that cheap. If it was on point and had case law that applies in every single state, I would charge a lot more. But it still gives you a head start. But the case law in Washington is guardian litems. Guardian ad litems, the court doesn't look at everything and just automatically trust the guardian litem. They have to look at the parents have a right to say their piece, the father, the mother, and the guardian litem. And the court has to weigh the balance and examine all of it and come to its own conclusions. The parents have a duty to the court to point out deficiencies in the guardian litem report so the court can make a full inquiry into the welfare of the children. It's just like a criminal court case. The prosecutor has a right to present evidence with the murder weapon, the gun, the surveillance video, witness testimony. The judge doesn't say, you can't bring all your evidence to court. But then the other side has a chance, so I'm going to bring a receipt that I was at Starbucks on the other side of town the night of the murder at Burger King. Your attorney wouldn't say, well, let's not put a receipt in there. That'll make that witness look like a liar. That's what court is for. It's insane that people actually have the audacity to say, don't attack the liar in court. That's what court is for. What do you think cross-examination is? Confronting your witnesses. You have a prevailing party. That means you had a competitive war and there's a victor in the end. Oral argument, examination, cross-examination, impeaching a witness. A lot of people think impeaching means like when you impeach a president, that you're kicking them out. Impeach means to attack the credibility of, so, that's when you impeach a president. When Clinton got impeached, they interviewed him and deposed him under oath. Because he was getting his freak on with somebody, a third of his age, or half his age. What was she, like 20? He was like 45 in the Oval Office. So he didn't get kicked out. Nixon got impeached and he resigned. So the impeachment process is to impeach the credibility of a witness. What do you, just think, if you follow the lead of an attorney who says, don't question a guardian litem, don't get on the offensive. What do you think that is? Do you think what are you supposed to do then? Are you supposed to go to court and not talk about the lies and not talk about the truth and hope by osmosis the judge figures out the facts? You go to court in front of a total stranger judge and present your side of the case, to present evidence to convince a jury or a judge to believe your side. If you're trying to convince your friends that your baby's mom or a girlfriend is a cheat, or your boss is crooked, or your boss is ripping you off and not paying you what you deserve, you wouldn't say, hey, you know, my boss is doing some wrong stuff. Can you guess what it is? No, you tell them exactly what's going on. You talk about your baby's mom, you show them pictures of her at a party dancing with some dude. You show evidence. That's how you convince somebody of stuff. You show them proof or evidence, or you persuade them. And usually that means talking bad about somebody if they're doing something wrong. Why would court change when a court of law allows you all the options to examine, destroy the credibility and stuff? That's insane that people actually think that when you go to a court of law, you should not be arguing with somebody when you're allowed to have oral argument. You should not be attacking the credibility of a witness when there's actually rules and laws that say you can be punished if you lie in court. Now, they don't really enforce that much, but they have laws and rules. Civil Rule 11, they give sanctions to some people, vexatious litigation for abusing the process and coming with frivolous stuff. So they all acknowledge that people go to court and lie all the time. We have a history of corrupt court rulings. I would use that kind of example in court. That's why I was talking to a black father. I was saying, go to court and talk about how the horrible history they have of, it was a court ruling that got Japanese citizens interned in concentration camps during World War II. It was a court order that said black folks can't ride on the same part of a train as white folks, and they can't use the same bathrooms, and they have to have their own restaurants. Those were court rulings that allowed that. If we discriminated against a whole group of people before rape shield laws, women rape victims could get badgered on the stand and blamed for looking provocative, and that provoked the rape. Court rulings or court procedure had some crazy, egregious, ridiculous stuff, and we corrected that stuff over time when we became self-aware of it. So the fact that you should never commit blasphemy against the court, you have to bow down and worship it like it's perfectly holy, that's utter bullshit. You must be, if you're going to let somebody tell you that and convince you that you can't go to court and do that, then you're just a punk ass bitch. That's it, the end. Or you're a brainless zombie and you're really actually, you know, there's some people out there I deal with, they are dumb. You know, I give people packets of paperwork, or we work on paperwork and they see the structure of it, and next time I see them write stuff up, they don't put the capital letters at the beginning of a sentence. They indent one paragraph and another paragraph. They have stuff all out of alignment. Like, mother effer, don't you at least have the common sense a second grader has to have a uniform structure of your paperwork? Or, you know, they'll see declaration after declaration. I declare under the penalty of perjury and the laws of the state of Washington, this is true. Signed and dated on this date and time in this city. The signature line looks the same in several documents, and then somebody I worked with for a couple years, they'll send me, they wrote up a declaration and they sign their name under their type. They put their signature under their name when it's always been signed above it. It's like, dude, you don't pick up on these basic fundamental things. Like, some people are just stupid, or they're so lazy they don't care to pay attention. Like, how did you ever write a book report in school? How did you ever write, I mean, anything? A lot of you guys just have to care more. You have to care more enough to pursue your kids and fight tooth and nail on anything. You have to care enough to pay attention to detail and have your paperwork looking in a nice, organized fashion. Like, if I have somebody who's writing stuff up and they want me to go through their paperwork and walk through it with them and we tweak it together or whatever, you know, they wrote it up and have a rough draft. Your rough draft shouldn't be sloppy and all over the place. And then, you know, here's what it said. Here's the borders. Like, you start off with your paperwork and the words are going from this edge to this edge. And then halfway down or on the next page is indented like 2 inches. And then it's like this. Or then you send it to me in Google. Like, if you know that you're doing court papers and you need Microsoft Word, you should get it instead of using Google Docs and you send me something in Word, and then when it's sent to me, all the stuff is bunched up and moved over and it's all over the place. Like, you don't have the common sense God gave a monkey that when you send that and you look at it all out of order, like, I'm just supposed to clean that up and fix that? Like, come on. Some of the stuff you got to actually care about what the hell you're doing. You can't go in there with a resume or a cover letter for a job and the stuff is indented over here and indented over, and it looks sloppy. You'll make sure that's together. How come you can't do that when we're talking about your life with your kid? This is the stuff that amazes me. We're talking about your life with your kid. All the excuses you have, I can't do that, or that's hard, or I don't like to read, or I don't like to do this, or I didn't know what my court order says. Then go read it, dumbass. Well, it hurts my feelings to go through it because it reminds me of what we went through. So what? If you had to go through a lawsuit because you got wrongful termination, and then you want to collect on your money and stuff, and it's traumatizing for you to think about. You think of the end goal. I'm going to get all this money, so I don't mind going through the paperwork or going through this to make sure I get my judgment or I collect the money that's owed to me. But we care about money more than we do love of our kids sometimes, because we'll do stuff for a job, or like I told you guys, there's a guy who told me to F off on TikTok about all your fighting the battle and stuff. I got to go to work and overtime and come home. The guy cares more about his job. Now, I know that's his livelihood, but you had a kid, dumbass, you stupid punk ass mother effer. You had a kid. Now you have to make sacrifices in your life. You don't get to keep doing your lazy ass, I'll do enough to just work and then go home and crash, and that's my life. Now it's time that you brought somebody into the world to own it and act like a real man. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. All right, for those of you out there who are real warriors, keep up the good fight. And those of you who've been lost and losing, and you're making excuses, and all you want to do is whine and cry, it's time to grow some balls and go to war over your kids. We're talking about your life with your kid. You go through a little bit of hell now, you have peace later. You try and have an easy route now, you're going to have hell to pay. People go to mediation and they sign off. I just want to get this over with. Let me just sign. Where do I sign? You sign off, and it gives the mother all this control to punish you and make you go through hell for years. There's a guy I told him when he's going into mediation, I said, do not settle on anything less than 50-50, dude. We talked about it. That's what you want. Do not settle. Do not give in. He gave in and settled on 8 hours of visitation until the kid was 5. He's like 3. And then he can have every other weekend overnight. And she gets decision-making on daycare and school or something like that. And now he's suffering 7 years later. He's paying for daycare that doesn't exist or shouldn't have to exist because he signed away and took the easy. He's like, it was just hot and sweaty in there, and my lawyer's pushing me like, if you don't sign this, then I'm going to quit and you'll have to go to trial. I'm like, you numbnuts idiot. We've been doing this stuff. I've been helping you all along. I told you could do this stuff. It was just too hard. And you signed away. And then he went back to court to undo it and vacate it because he signed under duress and they wouldn't do it. Then he did revision. Then he went to court of appeals. So he went through a year and a half of hell to fix something that was almost impossible to fix because in 5 seconds he signed something away that totally effed himself over because he wanted the easy way out. If he would have toughed it out and said, F you, I'll take you to trial. There's a lot of guys, once they say at mediation, screw you, I'll take you to trial, then the mother starts offering more. But he didn't even try that because he's being a pussy ass bitch. And he called me literally crying the next day and said that he gave in and quit. I'm like, dude, he's like, what can I do now? I said, you could do all these other remedies that are almost impossible. It's possible to fix it. This is the only chance of fixing it. The odds are against it. The best way to fix it was for you to be a real man yesterday and grow some balls and stand your ground and not surrender or sell yourself out or sell your soul. You hear horror stories like people in Hollywood, they got to sell their soul, they got to do something, or they got the casting couch, or they do an agreement, or you have a deal with the mafia to protect you and look out for you and help you get rich on your business. And then later on that, it's time to pay the toll, time to pay the devil his due or whatever. You have an easy little quick rise to fame by selling out, and then the debt collectors come. There's a lot of things about Hollywood, like if you want to be a star, you sign in blood, this and that, and for exchange, they got to take out one of your family members. There's a whole bunch of stories like that. If you don't believe that, then it's kind of a funny coincidence, and there's stars talking about it. So why would you just sign away your rights and let the person control you? Because right now I feel uncomfortable. That's a bitch move. You're not thinking long term. You're not thinking there's a war ahead. You're not thinking I could go to trial and I could use trial as leverage because 95% chance that mother doesn't want to go to trial. And you're like, I got nothing to lose. I just told you guys just yesterday and today, this lady did a trial and she was scared to death, and she did it anyway because she had nothing to lose because she hasn't seen her kids, and she destroyed them at trial. And she's probably going to have a good court order. Her last court order, she had to jump through 40 different hoops and she wasn't able to do it and didn't see her kids. She's going to have something better than that. But I think it's going to be really good. And she overcame her fears because she had nothing else to lose. And when you have nothing else to lose, I had nothing to lose except my kid. And I didn't want to lose her because I fell in love with her as soon as she was born, like any dad does, especially with a daughter. That melts your heart and, has, you wrapped around her finger, like, you would do anything to protect or, whatever. You have those feelings of a dad, especially for your first kid. And then everybody talks about, I'll die for my kids. And then you come in a little bit of pressure. Oh, I just want to get out of this. I want to get away. This is too hard, because you want immediate gratification now. You don't want to think, okay, down the road, if I fight the right way, down the road, there will be a reward. Down the road, I'm going to use this leverage. I'm going to talk shit at media. Okay, fine. I'll take you to trial and I'm going to go for full custody and point out what a narcissistic psycho bitch you are and get a psychological evaluation on you, and then anger management assessment, and then some therapy and treatment or whatever. And I'm going for full custody. We could settle on 50-50 or 60-40, and I want to ask for child support. But if I have to go to trial, I'm going 90-10. If you make me go to trial, I'm going 90-10. And she'll laugh at you and say, well, I got nothing to lose. I got nowhere to go but up. You got everything to lose. See, this is leverage. How come you didn't think about that? How come you didn't think about that? I thought about it when I knew I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Why can't you think of this stuff? And now that I've told you this stuff over and over, why didn't you do it? Especially after I won over and over and over. Now I've won some and lost some. I told you about a recent loss, or one of my more recent losses, but it was irrelevant at that point. It didn't mean anything. It didn't hurt me in any way. Why won't you listen to somebody who actually won? Because you're in your bitch feelings and you just want to whine and cry. Somebody help me and save me. No, you save you. You save your kids. You fix this. It's on you, man. You're the one who was stupid enough. I have a guy. He has 3 babies' moms. I helped him out like 15 years ago. He had 2 babies' moms tag teaming him at once. And one time we're on a phone call and I'm talking and he's like, man, I got to go to court and do this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then he's distracted. He's like, man, there's so many fine bitches down here at the beach. I'm like, dude, can you keep your stuff in your pants for a minute? Or can you focus on what's going on right here while you're talking to me? 10 years later, 15 years, 12 years later, he calls me up. He's got another baby's mom with 2 kids that he lives with, didn't marry her. She takes off to the other side of the country. I said, you better file right now. He's like, well, how much it cost for you to help me and do the paperwork and this and that? And I'm like, okay, we sit down and do this. And I gave him an amount. He goes, I don't got that right now. I said, you better do it within 6 months. 7 months later, he calls me. I really need help. I can't find her. She's in Tennessee or somewhere across the country. I'm like, you got to go to Tennessee now. Go find a father's rights guy in Tennessee. But you helped me before. I know you know what you're talking about. Bitch, you didn't get on it when you had a chance. Lazy ass mother effing bitch. You're out here screwing anything that'll actually be thirsty or desperate enough to have kids with you, and your dumb ass won't jump on it. You could have easily gotten custody of those kids, because if you file here, she's got to fight over here. She probably won't, and you win by default, and you go pick up your kids and bring them back. Dad waited. While you're sitting there being a lazy, shiftless, bum little bitch, you could have gotten on the offensive and went through some hell for a couple of months and got full custody, and now you're sailing the rest of your life. Now that guy, 7 months later, he had no contact with his kids. Sorry about that. He had no contact with his kids. And he's getting screwed, and he's still screwed. And he hasn't even started, and he could have had custody of his kids. Anyway, you guys should listen to me. That's all I got to say about that.